Here we go. Hi, everybody.
Oh, good evening, folks.
Hello.
Lovely little voice and nice few happy names in the chat room. Brilliant.
Tony Smith. Haven't seen him in a while.
He was here last week. I think he was here last
Oh,
week.
was he? Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think so.
I guess I wasn't paying attention, sorry.
Maybe I.
Hello, John
Maybe I'm-
Abrams and I Haul Boxes, Tanya. Mike
My whole boxes,
Kuipers.
you need to go to life, mate. You're always in the chat room.
I love I Boxes being here. He makes some great comments. I love his
He does.
commentary.
He does. Fast becoming a show favourite.
I'm just going to do a preemptive post over in Facebook in case anyone joins and give them the YouTube link.
Good idea. And I'm just looking for... There it is. Audio hijack. Yeah, APG show. Oh, it's all left. It's all perfect from the last time.
Okay,
Richard
it's not
Brooks.
bugging you about updating it, huh? That's
Great day for
No.
taxes and APG. Yeah. I think Steph was working on her taxes the other day.
Ah, I had a win. I had a win from the government. I no longer have to fill out tax returns
Oh, that's
Why is
nice.
that?
because
that
I don't
your
have any
age?
income.
Oh,
Yeah. You have to have some income to be able to need
I
to
see.
fill out a tax return.
you're in a state of poverty. I can tell that.
I am, absolutely.
What about like interest and dividend income, that kind of thing?
No, I don't think
It's
that
gotta-
counts. That's a
Like
private
investment
pension
in-
scheme and a public pension scheme. So they have all that to start with, I think. Anyway, I don't think I get enough to cross the threshold for actually
Right.
needing it.
Yeah, I got to start pulling that. stuff.
I live very frugally nowadays.
I do too, actually. I mean, except when I'm spending a whole bunch of money on a new bathroom or something.
Well, I would love to have had a lovely holiday today, but my wife spent it in the hospital. So
Oh,
Is she in the hospital now?
no, she's popping in
Wednesday morning.
Yep,
Okay.
but we've had to go private because of COVID. The
Wait time. Yeah.
the delays for the National Health Service are becoming horrendous.
Same here. Same things happened here.
Yeah, well,
But we don't have the private option. So
I
just
did
trying
not
to-
see the ADSB spoofing of the Antonov 225 over Kiev. Actually, that's live video right behind Nick right now of the 225
That's it, yeah,
flying.
I'm
It
trying to-
been
lives.
resurrected. Hi, Craig
Yes.
Messerman.
yeah. Except
Montana.
that's the one that blew up. They put the other one together very quickly.
Big Sky Country.
That's the one they never completed, but they went ahead and completed it.
Right.
Yeah, well, they only needed to bolt the wings on, I think, and it was going to be ready to go.
Okay.
Oh, I just need to shut the door. Hang on.
Okay. All right, so folks, this might be what you see is what you get. We're not sure about any other participants today. We're hoping, fingers
We're having
crossed.
some staffing issues.
Yeah, of course, we do know that Steph is definitely not going to make it because she's out there. I don't know. She's crazy.
Jumping
Everybody
jumpers.
knows she's crazy. She's dumping jumpers. And it's like-
Sub-zero jumpers.
Yeah, it's not warm here in the southeast by any means. I hope that the water pipes didn't freeze up at the cabin.
And I think Nick C is traveling today. Wasn't he leaving to go to Texas or something? I think I recall.
Something like that.
Something
Or
like
maybe that was
that.
Monday, Tuesday. I think he's home today,
Okay, well maybe he'll pop in.
but I don't know.
We live in
But
hope.
I would imagine that if he were going to be joining us, he'd already be here. So
I think. Well, he was
Unless
out
we didn't
flying
make
low
it
and slow earlier. We saw some.
did we not
pictures.
make it clear to everybody in our crew chat that we were going to
I
do
made
this
it
at
very
2:30?
clear.
Okay.
I sent a message to everybody. Said, "Here's the plan."
Okay. Well, there you go. So, anyway, let's see. What else was I going to do here? Oh, did not have enough time because I ran into a little snag to do Radio Roger's intro for.
He got it recorded in lots of time, but
Oh yeah, it's not his fault. It's my fault. I have
okay.
his
It'll
file.
be in post, yeah.
It'll be in post. It'll be in the actual podcast.
Excellent.
Not the.
So,
What's the wrong
can I
date?
be
But that's
Radio
okay.
Roger?
What's that?
Can
You wanna
I be
do Radio
Radio
Roger?
Roger tonight?
Sure. Yeah.
ooh, I like it.
You want? Well, that so you if you really want to do that, that means I have to find the
No,
backing
no,
track.
it's all right. Don't. I
Okay.
I don't know what to say. I listen
Okay,
to it
so I'm-
every week, but I haven't a clue.
I'm just going to say thank you, Radio Roger.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna start with.
An
And,
outro to his intro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Snowing
Thank you, Radio
here
Roger.
again.
He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter. What did you say? Snowing?
Yep. Just never ending. Like, although it's
How
supposed to be
unusual.
60 or something, 16C by the Wednesday or something.
Now,
So lovely.
Gordy, that would be a damn good idea. But you're in face plant.
Gordy, come over to
need
YouTube.
We need you in YouTube. Just have a quick
Here's the
look.
link.
You'll see the link because
There it goes
everybody
again.
else is in YouTube.
There it is again.
Cheers, Wadham.
Come on over where the cool kids are, Gordy.
Can't we just pin that? Is that possible?
How do we do
Let's
that?
see.
You mean in StreamYard?
Yeah.
No, on Facebook.
Oh, I don't know. I'm very
Pin a
challenged. there.
message.
Well, I just hit a thing that looks like a star. What does that do?
Oh, okay. I don't know what that
I don't know
is.
if it does anything though. Okay. No. You can star important comments so you remember to discuss them during the show. Oh.
Oh, that's
Okay,
okay.
so do you have a column now in your comments? A column that says starred.
No.
Yes. Well, I see
Okay.
a star.
Oh, yes,
on the
yes, I
side
do.
of your-
Yes, I do. I see it. Yeah,
on the
yeah.
comment.
And so you click on the starred. And I have one thing there, and now you just have to copy that and paste it, Liz.
Well, that's
Unless you
okay.
already-
I already have it in my clipboard. So all I'm doing
Oh.
is every time I do it, I just put it in there. So, but
All
thanks.
right, then
That's
I'm going to unstar it then.
that's
Screw
good to
it.
know.
Fine.
I can't see the plain tail in the lineup today.
Well,
Oh, did you not tell him that we're not doing the plain
I
tail?
did.
Yeah, so.
number-
Yeah.
It's number 5 from the bottom because I added some in case.
Oh, I got it.
Mi-
Yeah.
Miami Rick joined us, but that's looking unlikely,
It's
unfortunately.
like 5 number 21s after the plain tail. Okay.
Yeah. So you 20.
I can
is
take
plain
I
tail.
can take his out now. I think I'll do that. So
Well, if you want.
just not to confuse everybody, whatever.
Look, I'm easily confused, but then most things confuse me.
I'm sorry, you're confusing me.
Oh, pardon me.
Okay.
You have me confused for someone intelligent?
Okay.
Okay,
I'm going to hit the record button.
They're gone
on,
now, Nick. That should
Reaper.
unconfuse you.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, me too, Recordio.
Okay. Oh, by the way, how, maybe they've already said so in the chat. I haven't been looking. How are the mic levels comparatively between the three of us?
We don't have Micah here, but we'll take any opinions that you're offering.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. If I need to bump the volume up, let me know.
I'm up to volume.
Bump up the volume.
Mine isn't all that important because I'll be retreating. Tanya says it sounds good.
Okay. Good.
iHall Boxes is saying the mica levels. How are the mica levels? Get it?
Yeah. I thought the same thing. iHall boxes.
We're getting thumbs up from everybody, so it sounds okay.
Sounds
Okay, good. Thumbs up the butt. All right. Let's go over here for the sound and like there. And
Got your recorders on, gentlemen?
oh, you know what I should do? Hang on. I have an idea. Yes. Recording is on and recording. Allow mic cam access. that might be a bad idea because then let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And enter studio.
Oh, here's a joke, Liz.
Yes, sir.
We got Jilly a new computer for her birthday. I think she probably
Very
told
nice.
you.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, can you?" Oh, there's two Jeffs.
There's two Jeffs. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Can you make my computer print, please? Because it doesn't want to work with my
Right.
printer.
Right.
So I spent half the afternoon trying to sort that out until eventually online I discovered that her computer is so new it doesn't support the old printer.
Oh, really? Oh, great.
Yeah, there's
No drivers?
No drivers for it.
Wow.
What?
I thought, what a joke that is. No, Canon give a list of operating systems that it
You
works.
shouldn't need a
with.
driver, though, really, should you?
Well, you don't normally need to install one because iOS is so good it has them all on board. But Canon has stopped supporting Mac operating systems past a certain point. And the last two for hers printer, they haven't made a driver for them.
You might be able to
So
find a third-party driver. So there are a couple of companies that have software that
Well,
make it work.
to tell the truth, it's not an expensive piece of kit, and my son now has it, or is being promised it.
Does
Okay.
this new iPad Pro not have a headphone jack? Are you kidding me?
Probably not.
This is my new EFB, and can you hear? Do you hear any noise coming in from my iPad?
No.
Any?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good. Then I don't need to worry about it. Okay, so now I can have you
heard
guys
that.
down there. What's that?
I heard that.
What?
You bet you must have bashed your mic or something, did
Just
you?
just a clunk.
Oh yeah, no, I'm talking about like an echoing because I have the volume down as low as it go, but I can't mute it for some reason,
Very odd.
and so it's going through the iPad. And what I usually have to do, sometimes I use my iPhone to do the same thing,
Right.
but I have to plug in like some headphones to
Okay.
completely shut up. And that's what I was going to do with this, but I can't find the headphone jack.
Oh, yeah. They're taking all these jacks out of it. Nick, Tanya's saying she had to run a virtual machine to use an old scanner at some point. So
Yeah. I mean, we've got two printers down here, and mine's a bit more modern. It's an AirPrint device with a scanner. So she just has this thing that she likes her old printer. So she wanted it to work, even though these two printers are like almost next door to each
Right.
other. She had a thing about using my printer. I've got my own printer.
it's a little territorial there.
Yeah, absolutely.
JJ got the
Meetup
audio and
audio.
picture. Unfortunately, I hadn't had a chance to put it in today's lineup. We'd already kind of firmed up the lineup a few days ago, so
Next
that'll
show.
be in next show. But we do have a piece of feedback from JJ Pittsburgh, I think, on this show,
I
right?
think it's from
Or is
not
that JJ not Pittsburgh?
I think
Oh,
it's
that's JJ not Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's confusing.
It is. All right.
Okay. Are we ready, Freddie?
I think so. Let me just double check, make sure we are seeing a waveform over here. We are. And let me make sure that when I play the sound effect that I see something in the waveform as well. Like,
But you see, we have become what I call children of the magenta.
yeah.
Heard that? Perhaps a little hot.
And you don't
but
hear any echoing thing going on?
Not at all.
No, but I'm deaf anyway, so don't worry
No.
about it.
How about anybody in the chat room that's not deaf? Can you hear any kind of an echo?
Anyone with incredibly acute hearing, do you hear anything?
I think I told you the story several years ago. Somebody had not wrote in, but he sent an email saying, "Hey,
There's Gordy in the YouTube. Very good. Thanks for coming over. Sorry.
said there's this like really high pitched sound when you're talking through your microphone." I'm thinking, well, I didn't hear that at all. And and then I did a spectrum view in my digital audio workstation. And sure enough, there's like somewhere around the 12, 15 kilohertz. I don't know. It's pretty high,
up there?
beyond my hearing. And it was like a
okay.
solid line. I'm thinking, oh, son of a gun.
Maybe
There it
that's
is.
what was driving Nick's rugger crazy, that high-pitched thing. Because dogs can
Well,
hear.
that was a long. No, I think it was like
No, I know. I'm just kidding
years
because
ago.
they can hear really high.
It's just it's a great way to keep teenagers off our show. Just put that high pitch back
Oh,
in.
how do they?
Yeah.
Do they not hear
wow,
that?
Where did that come from? Oh, that's so.
See, Ihol agrees with me. He says that's why all dogs sit when Jeff speaks.
Do they?
No,
That's weird.
no, Puppy's
Okay.
not. Okay, you ready? Ready?
Yeah.
Did
Oh,
you
and just a
leave
reminder again, we're not going to do Radio Roger's intro on the video. So
Yep.
if you want to hear his lovely voice,
Dulcet tones.
you'll have to dulcet tones. You'll have to go to the
Audio.
the audio only. Thank you, man. This is going to be a terrible show. I can't even have.
We're going to love it. We think it's going to be hilarious.
And I'm not drinking. I really am not.
Well, that's not
I
good.
don't have
then.
anything to drink.
No, I haven't got any booze here either tonight.
I don't either. I got iced tea. We're all
I'm
sober.
being a good boy.
All right. Well, good for you.
Ready?
I know you are. I just need to find my script and do this. And so, you got a good time hack?
Got it. Yep, got it.
Okay. Thank you. That was Radio Roger, an award-winning TV and radio reporter. Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins in
New York City!
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and your feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, GA. And joining me today, honestly, from his studio in, oh man, I'm missing my separate screen.
500.
Is that, how's that volume?
It's okay.
It was all right, ish.
Kind of low on my side.
Yeah, a little bit low.
Okay. How would I fix that? Try this again.
1,000.
This just kind of sounds low. Sorry, buddy. Bump it up a little bit. Okay. Take 2 at 51. Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter. Why do I have so much trouble saying reporter? Reporter. Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins in
New York City!
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining me today from his studio,
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
professional photographer, former RAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Good evening, everybody. Hi there, Jeff. A little bit short on the ground tonight, I see.
Yeah, we are, but we're going to make up for that in just very, very witty satire. or
Scintillating.
something. Yeah, scintillating content. Oh, who's that? From her studio in Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer-director, it's Liz Piper.
Good day, everyone. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Glad to have you with us. And that's it for the crew today. So let's go right on into the news.
stand by for news.
All right, first in the news lineup is an update. You'll recall us talking about the Aerosucker Boeing 737-200 registration
Did you
Hotel
call them
Kilo.
Aerosucker?
Yeah, that's what it says. It says AEROSUCRE.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Okay,
I wonder what they call their
Aerosucre.
passengers. Passengers sucker.
I guess it would be what? Aerosucre? That 737 that we saw some, what would you call it, security video of the thing making a very low pass over a house. And they said something about it possibly hitting a tree. And we kind of poo-pooed that idea and thought it was probably just the jet wash from the wings or the jet wash or the turbulence from the wings. What is that called again? Wake turbulence, wing vortexes, that thing. Let me pause for a second here, folks. I don't know what's going on with me, but my vocabulary today is not good. It's really, really not good. It's worse than normal. So please bear with me. I'm going to try my best. Anyway, so an update here. It showed that Colombia's Aeronautica Civil reported the occurrence as a serious incident. They released their preliminary report in Spanish. The aircraft commenced takeoff on runway 7 at maximum takeoff power, winds from 060 degrees at 4 knots in daylight visual meteorological conditions. V1 had been computed at 130 knots indicated, V rotate at 132, and V2 at 138. According to the crew reports, all parameters remained normal during the takeoff roll. The aircraft rotated and became airborne. The landing gear was selected up. While the gear was moving, the aircraft struck the top of a tree. Immediately following this contact, the left-hand engine, JT8D, generator failed, and the left-hand engine lost power. The crew performed the related checklists, and with the parameters present, decided to restart the left-hand engine. The engine started and stabilized, however, indicated high temperatures. The aircraft climbed to 2,500 feet. The crew decided to return to Puerto Correno, requesting ground support. The crew was unsure whether the landing gear had been compromised during the contact. The crew extended and retracted the landing gear with satisfactory results. The crew computed VREF at 135 knots indicated with flaps at 40 degrees and landed safely on runway 7 about 20 minutes after departure. After landing, the aircraft turned around to backtrack runway 7 back to the apron when emergency services reported smoke from the left-hand engine, but no fire was observed. The crew shut the engine down and taxied to the apron. An inspection of the aircraft the following day revealed vegetation embedded in several joints of the slats, leading edge of the left wing, and engine number 1. Ingestion of vegetation by the left-hand engine was evident. The tree struck at position, and then they have some lat longs here. The tree was 14. Thank you. Yeah, you see the slide there, and it's pointing to the tree off to the right, the extended runway center line, maybe slightly left. Let's see. The tree was 14 meters, 46 feet high, and located 295 meters past the runway end. So, turns out that it wasn't the initial problem. Wasn't the engine. The initial problem was that for some reason they didn't clear that tree at the end of the runway, and it hit the left engine hit the tree and the left wing, I guess, and that's what caused. I'm surmising here from this preliminary report that that's what caused the issue with the overheating, loss of power in the number 1 engine. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, I think it took me several goes to try and work out exactly, and the preceding paragraphs don't help, but the area you've highlighted, Jeff, which is following the report, that makes it pretty clear that they hit a tree, lost power, shut the engine down, restarted it. I'm curious to know why they did that, because normally shut down, if you've had engine damage and you've got a good reason why the engine's shut down, you don't attempt to restart because it could make your life really hard. You only would do that in dire circumstances. For example, you couldn't maintain altitude and you just needed that engine regardless of the fact that it might blow up on you, because you might not make it in or around the circuit to get the aircraft back on the ground. So yeah, I think you have read it exactly right, and I think your analysis was also good in that for whatever reason, it didn't climb above the trees. It could have been a badly flown takeoff. I think that's probably unlikely. Takeoff's a really a no-stress maneuver normally once you're at that point off the ground. People very rarely mess that up. It's, I don't know, they're at takeoff power, so they're at basically the maximum power they can get. So it's unlikely to be any kind of a other thing we might have thought of, like a miscalculation of the flex power if they were doing a flex takeoff or reduced power takeoff. So it could be either the engines were already malfunctioning, not producing enough thrust, or, I don't know, what's tickling my head is they were a bit overweight, perhaps.
Yes. That's what I would say. That if they're using full power already, it sounds like maybe they didn't have the accurate weight, and they were heavier than expected.
In which case, you'd normally say, the crew probably did an excellent job. And if they were overweight, perhaps they did need that engine back, even if it wasn't going to produce a lot of power, to help them keep the aircraft comfortably above stalling speed and able to do turns and the like, so they could get round for a landing. And unless they've examined and reweighed it, or everything that came off, we may not ever find out if they just unloaded it and then, took everything away. I don't know.
Yeah, get rid of the evidence.
Exactly, yeah. But it must have been a pretty terrifying, because I think if you're hitting a 40-meter tree off the end of the runway, you're going to be going, what is wrong with this aeroplane? Help! Pretty terrifying. If you've got the trees around the aircraft after takeoff, you're really, on a hiding to nothing.
Well, Tony must know that I am a fluent Spanish speaker, and that I was just translating live while we were doing the show from the Spanish into English. No, that's not true at all. I don't know Spanish at all. I'm assuming that Simon from the Aviation Herald is the one that was doing the translation. It doesn't really say, because the report is in Spanish. So maybe Simon's a fluent Spanish.
My whole boxes has come up with a Teca one.
They don't sugarcoat it.
Aero Sucla. They don't sugarcoat it. Absolutely.
He also made another pithy comment regarding the JT-ATs and smoking. And yes, I think in this case it was just smoking a little bit more than normal.
Yes.
The number one engine.
Yeah. But all power to the crew. They got it back safely, which is great, because it can't have been easy if they're struggling to gain altitude.
Might have considered, like, if they, because they did restart the engine, so they were getting some power out of it, as you mentioned. That could have caused more problems than they, wanted to deal with, but they may have needed the extra power just to bring it back around. But once they were safely on the ground, I may have considered possibly shutting it down right away, instead of waiting for somebody to say, "Hey,
they texted him with it."
That
someone's
thing's smoking.
going, "Hey, you're smoking."
Exactly.
Yeah, good point. I'm not quite sure why they cycled the gear. Having got the gear down in 3 greens, I would have been quite happy with that. Yes, I'm not going to bring them up just to see if they still work, because the second time they might not.
Exactly. Yeah, that was kind of an odd thing as well. Okay. Well, we'll await more analysis on this incident when we get more information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do B. This is a final report. This is from the Aviation Herald. Express freighters Boeing 737-300 at Melbourne. Let's see, Express freighters. I guess they were doing work on behalf of Qantas. And in fact, I think I have a slide there that has a picture of the 737 in Qantas colors. There we go, Qantas freight, but this is actually Air Express or Express Freighters Australia. Registration Victor Hotel X-Ray Mike Oscar performing Flight 7395 from Perth to Melbourne. 2 crew. They were descending through 8,000 feet on approach to Melbourne when the crew felt a rush of cold air and soreness in their ears and received indications of auto-fail and standby on the pressurization panel. The differential pressure was indicating 0 and the outflow valve was about 50% open. The crew worked with a related checklist. The auto-fail light extinguished. However, the cabin pressure remained uncontrollable. The crew suspended further troubleshooting and continued the approach for a landing in Melbourne about 20 minutes after the onset of trouble. On the 2nd of March 2022, the Australian ATSB released their final report, concluding the probable cause of the incident was an insulation blanket in the aft cargo bay was incorrectly secured, leading to it coming adrift and inhibiting the main outflow valve operation. This resulted in uncontrolled pressurization changes in the aircraft. Yeah, you jam up that outflow valve, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, it might be worth explaining to those listeners who don't quite know how it works. We pump all the air we need into the aircraft, and then in order to control the pressure inside the aircraft, we modulate the outflow valve, so we let it leak out at a controlled rate, which the aircraft pressurization system can monitor and alter. So that outflow valve is very important for maintaining the right pressure in the aircraft.
Exactly. The ATSB analyzed the flight crew reported passing through 8,000 feet. The auto-fail standby annunciator lights illuminated, because we already talked about that in the narrative. During descent, the main outflow valve modulates increasing cabin pressure as ambient air pressure increases. It's possible that the failure of the main outflow valve heater gasket, identified by engineering personnel from the occurrence, resulted in the valve freezing in the closed position. As the aircraft descended into warmer air, the valve may have thawed, resulting in its sudden opening and observed ingestion of the unsecured insulation blanket. However, with the main outflow valve operation inhibited, it was unable to modulate, allowing an unrestricted venting of pressurized cabin air. This resulted in the inability to control the aircraft's cabin pressure, reported by the flight crew. Anyway, it goes on in a little bit more detail regarding the pressurization system and the auto-fail annunciation, standby annunciation, etc. Let's see. During post-occurrence troubleshooting and inspections, the engineers discovered multiple aft cargo bay insulation blankets either installed incorrectly, damaged, unsecured, or missing. This included, probably one went right out the outflow valve.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, here's one. On the ground.
Yeah.
This included an insulation blanket protruding from the main outflow valve.
Wow.
It was sticking out of the outflow valve. As part of the post-occurrence rectifications, the engineers correctly oriented and installed new blankets where required. The incorrect installation of some of the blankets along with an inadequate inspection of their condition occurred at some point prior to the occurrence. A heavy maintenance check was carried out on April 26, 2020, 15 months prior to the occurrence. This inspection and maintenance activity included multiple tasks within the aft cargo bay, which necessitated the disturbance and partial or complete removal of the insulation blankets. After this date, and prior to the occurrence on the 6th of July 2021, there was no documented evidence of maintenance carried out in the aft cargo bay, which would require access or disturbance of the insulation blankets. So,
yeah, well done, Sherlock. They managed to work out who did it. So they will, in fact, of course, have work records of who did that work, and they will be retrained, I'm sure. But if you're going to get this kind of a pressurization problem, actually descending through 8,000 feet is a lovely altitude to get it, because there's absolutely no jeopardy, really. You could just turn the pressurization system off and ignore it because you're below 10,000 feet. You don't need pressurization now to give you enough oxygen, air, under pressure to breathe. You're fine below 10,000 feet. You can carry on regardless. All you could do is worry. And in fact, that's what the crew do. They stopped doing the drills at 4,000 feet because they wanted to concentrate on the approach, and quite right so. So they weren't criticised for that. In fact, the inquiry said it was quite reasonable that they do so. So yes, 8,000 feet going up's a different matter, or at high altitude is even worse, of course. But no, that was good.
Yes, Well, I'm trying to share a video here, and for some reason, it's telling me that my video file is... Oh, I think I know what the problem is. Stand by.
I'm standing by, sir.
Standing by. It's a Dropbox issue. Actually, it's a human error, but it is correlated with Dropbox because I did all this work on another computer.
Is that
And so now
iHaul
I just-
Dropbox?
iHaul Dropbox. No, it's a different iHaul
different
Dropboxes. I drop boxes.
Yes.
Okay, so I think now I may have fixed the issue. All right. Okay, so this next news item is a video that we're going to share. I'm not sure if we're going to play the entire thing because I don't believe it's a short video. We'll see how it goes here. So let's add to the stream and see what's going on here. Cessna 205 catastrophic engine failure, February 11th, 2022. 6 minutes later, approximately 1 hour into an IFR flight from S-36 to Kilo Mike Yankee Victor.
478 Zulu, good. I think I'm losing this engine. 478 Zulu, roger. And up to your discretion, keep you advised. Shit, engine just popped and I got smoke in the cockpit. I need to go somewhere immediately.
Okay, I'm going to pause for a moment here. This is a single-engine airplane, high-wing Cessna, single-engine Cessna 205. And as he said, his engine was acting up, and then it just popped, and now he has smoke in the cockpit. He needs to get on the ground right away.
Can I get, is that Hillsborough off my nose here?
70 affirmative, 11 o'clock there, about 6 miles. They're showing wind calm, it's supposed to be 10. Keep left 200, standard 1,100, about 3036.
All right, 3036, and it looks like I got him in sight. What were the winds again?
Wind's fairly calm.
Fairly calm.
All right, I'm going to be over the field just trying to get set up for this. So what's the biggest runway?
70, biggest runway would be 13 right or 31 left. Basically whatever runway you need over the sky.
All right, we'll figure it out as we get closer in here. Thank you.
78 Zulu, roger, maneuver as necessary, and you just want to go to Hillsborough.
Yeah, I think I got it in sight here off my nose. We'll just go there. I'm and completely prompt stopped. Engine, it like blew up on me here.
78 Zulu, roger.
Interesting. I'm pausing the video. He's got a nice, probably a GoPro or something like that, situated in the cockpit, looking forward through the windscreen, and you can see the beautiful countryside ahead, some mountains and clouds, and the stopped propeller. This is up in the Pacific Northwest, Liz. She's asking what part of the country. Hillsborough is to the west of Portland, Oregon. I believe Hillsborough is there's a big Intel fab, or several chip fabs for Intel computing. And so I think he'll say something here at some point, but I think he's right around 9,000 feet-ish, close to 10,000 feet above the ground. Of course, I don't know. That's probably MSL, not above ground level, so I'm not sure what the elevation is in that area. But let's... yeah, I did not... He... Excuse me. I'm getting all choked up from reading iHaul Box's comments. And did tickle me. He said, "Quick, grab the fire extinguisher from your pant legs."
Yes. That's where we all keep them, don't we?
Well, he should. That's where he should keep them in this case.
Absolutely.
All right, let's continue to see what happens here. Okay, so he's just gliding.
While I've got some time here, what's the frequency going to be down there?
119.3.
This is nice.
All right,
I like his preparation.
Yeah. Yeah, he's thinking ahead.
Yeah, exactly right. Shows he's still got a lot of capacity, and the emergency hasn't thrown him off.
Right. So it's just really kind of peaceful looking. He's just kind of
Exactly,
gliding.
yeah. He's just a glider now, isn't he? He's having a fun day gliding.
Yeah, Liz is saying it doesn't look like he's descending that quickly, but I don't know. It looks can be deceiving, I think.
Yeah, these Cessnas don't have a great glide ratio, about the same as a 737.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not very good.
Seems like, maybe not as good as this. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not going to say anything else because I don't.
Well,
yeah,
it's
you
just,
can start.
Yeah,
you can see
I've
that
covered it in a plain tail, and I'm trusting the figures.
782 on the 1-3 right through left is about 6,600 feet.
All right, I'm going to try for 1-3 right here.
Number 780, roger. Maneuver as necessary and clear visual approach runway 13 right.
All right, cleared for the visual, and we'll keep you posted here.
I must admit, if I was going to do a practice force landing,
let Hillsborough Tower know they're going to have equipment out for you, and let me know when you're ready to switch over.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'd never be too quick to declare which runway, in case I'd change my mind halfway around the pattern.
Yeah.
Or I'm losing a bit of height here. I think I'll go for that runway instead.
Yeah. I guess, as he did before, he's already kind of thinking ahead and trying to communicate as much as he can and say, this is what I think I'm going to do. I don't know.
The only thing I think he's done wrong so far is that he hasn't actually declared an emergency. So apart from that, I think it's obvious, but relying on his air traffic controller to interpret what he's saying, it's much clearer if you just declare an emergency.
Mm-hmm. True.
All right, cleared for the visual, and we'll keep you posted here.
70, yeah, just let me know if you need anything else. Let Hillsborough Tower know they're going to have equipment out for you, and let me know when you're ready to switch over to the tower.
All right, Roger. Yeah, we're not going to be able to taxi off or anything. We'll just stay over the field here and hopefully get it in.
I don't know whose sigh that was. Was that the pilot?
I think so, yeah. I think he's going, I wonder how much this engine's going to cost to fix.
Oh, how did I get in this situation?
Yeah.
Liz says, how much can I get for this when I sell it?
And,
if I don't crash.
The smoke blowing down here, it looks like 3-1 left is going to be a better bet for us.
78 Zulu Bravo, sir, no problem, clear visual approach through left.
All right, clear for 3-1 left for 78 Zulu.
Okay, still looks very peaceful. You can just see the clouds in the background, some mountains. You see a little bit of
he's got
civilization
time to
going.
open his flask and get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, or get those fire extinguishers ready from his pant legs.
Yeah. Strap his parachute on.
Oh, yeah. Liz says he's getting the selfie stick ready.
Yep.
All right, Kev, don't piss up. We do this.
70 Zulu, and just when you have time, I think it's full on board and fuel.
We've got just me on board here, and I had about 4 hours of fuel on board, probably about 65 gallons.
70 Zulu, roger, no problem. Winds currently 310 at 4, runway 31 left, you are cleared to land.
All right, 3-1 left, we're cleared to land. We're just going to orbit over the field here.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, good plan. And I think you can kind of see as we get a little bit closer here and it gets a little bit lower, you can start seeing a little bit of the airport environment. He's not quite over the field yet. Oh, yeah, he is. I can see on the lower left-hand side. Looks like taxiways or runway from Hillsborough.
Golly, we're only halfway through this.
This is where my cousin lives in Hillsborough, and I remember driving by this airport.
Yeah.
But I had nothing to do with it. This was
An approach.
a couple years ago.
Elevation for Hillsborough.
167.
Definitely getting lower to the ground here. Still gliding, turning a little bit. He's keeping himself over the airport. You can see the runway off to the left. Just keeping it on
The elevation of 208 feet.
Oh, it's pretty close to sea
And
level.
I can take tower now if you'd like.
70 roger, and you're cleared to land actually any runway you need, and when you're ready, you can switch to tower 119.3.
Over to 19-3. Thanks for your help, sir.
Yep.
Nice and calm.
Hillsborough
Cool.
Tower, stationary 478 Zulu, emergency. We're through
good man.
2,500 in the descent, trying for 3-1 left.
November 8478 Zulu, Hillsborough Towers, for altimeter 3037, wind 310 at 4, clear to land any runway.
Clear to land any runway, 8478 Zulu.
Good question, Craig. He hasn't said anything, so I'm not sure if he would or not.
I would imagine that the ATC has already made him an emergency aircraft on their radar display, so it probably wouldn't do anything if they popped 7700 in at this point.
Now, I wonder if the civilian world does practice force landings like we do, where you would have a high key and then a low key, and then, you know, you basically do your finals turn from low key.
That's a good question. And
High
why don't we
gates.
see if some of the folks in our live audience has the answer to that question. By the way, he has a very nice headset on. It's the same headset I use, the Bose A20.
It's not easy in the sun like that. It's quite a low sun, and you know, it makes the forward view a bit tricky. Yes, you do. Good.
iHall Boxes says, yes, we do in general aviation.
Excellent.
All right. Looks like he's setting this up perfectly. Looks like he has a, you know, a really good idea of his energy. He's managing.
Yeah,
that very
the
well.
lovely thing about flying that curved approach from low key in is that any time you think you're going a bit low, you can tighten up that turn a little bit and cut a bit of track, or you can make it a bit wider.
Kind of looks a little bit on the low side to me, but okay, here we go. And coming over the numbers. And
I think he's quite fast because he's floating a long way.
Yep, looks like he's finally on the ground.
You sure?
Oh, I just noticed that the propeller's not moving. Just kidding. Oh, that's the problem. Yeah, so he is. Yeah, maybe
you
now.
want me to try to make Alpha 5 to get out of your way here?
Door 70, so if you can, that's fine. If not, no problem. We can work around you. Just do whatever you can. Nice landing.
All right, thank you very much. I'm glad you guys were right here.
Oh, wow. He's icing on the cake. Look at this. He's taxiing.
Yeah, he's getting out of their way.
Oh,
nice job.
Any preference
absolutely.
left or right here? I'll just roll as far as I
Oh,
can
could you
for
give me a
Go
parking
straight in.
position now?
Door 70, Zulu, you can go straight in.
Because I'm Bob Hoover and I can do this shit.
About 6 miles. They're showing wind.
Okay, I think I just accidentally rewound the thing, but it was a happy ending, beautiful
Wow,
landing.
yeah. Textbook.
And it did a wonderful job. This guy's situational awareness, his SA, was awesome, I say.
Yeah, really impressed. You know, a guy that obviously just has the wherewithal to cope with a situation like that. And, you know, we could all learn a lot from watching him and his calm attitude towards dealing with it and his skilled flying. So good job, sir.
Yeah. Very well. That's almost textbook, the handling of that emergency. You know what? Let me add this back to the stream and just ignore what you're hearing now. I'm going to fast forward it to some stills that they added here to the end of the video
Do whatever
to
you
show
can. Nice landing.
the damage to the engine on the.
Oh,
there
there
we go. That's
yeah.
it's a six-cylinder.
Ooh.
Yeah, look at that thing. The whole engine case has basically cracked and just a gaping
That really has blown apart, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good 1.5 inch gap, a big crack. And all the oil must have hosed out. Wow, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can see that this is a catastrophic engine failure, basically.
Yeah.
They're going to have to get a new one, I think. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, yeah.
My recommendation.
Yeah. Or just a bit of speed tape.
Yep. Yes, Liz, I do know that the word crack does make you laugh.
She cracks up.
She's cracking herself up.
Yeah.
She's a crackpot. Okay. Yeah, that was great. I'm glad that he had this on video and that he could share this experience with everybody.
Absolutely.
All right. A 5-cylinder Cessna, yeah. No, not a 6-cylinder anymore. Okay, let's move on. Another final report. This is from the Aviation Herald. It must be that time of year for final reports. Korean.
They're all trying to sneak them out under the current, big news items in Ukraine. They're trying to get all these reports out so no one notices.
Maybe nobody will notice. Let's see. Korean Airlines Bombardier C Series, 300, registration Hotel Lima 8314. We know them now as Airbus 220 series. Performing flight 753 from Busan, South Korea to Nagoya, Japan, with 64 people on board. Was climbing out of Busan when the crew stopped the climb at flight level 290 due to the failure of the left-hand engine. It was a Pratt & Whitney 1521. The aircraft returned to Busan for a safe landing about 1 hour after departure. A replacement airplane, this time a 737-900, reached Nagoya with a delay of 2.5 hours. Boeing to the rescue, yes. On March 3rd, 2022, the NTSB released their final report, concluding the probable cause of the incident was the manufacturer's inadequate cleaning of the crucible before melting the nickel alloy used in casting the low-pressure turbine Stage 3 blades. That resulted in a casting anomaly from where an intergranular crack, there you go, Liz, occurred, became the origin of a fatigue crack that led to the fracture of a low-pressure turbine Stage 3 blade.
Oh, come on, Jeff, how the devil did they work that out? These guys, neither have I. I'm going, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, the metallurgical forensic investigators, apparently. They looked at that one. Oh, yeah, I can see what that is. It's some kind of an intergranular molecular crack. The NTSB analyzed on December 26, 2018, Korean Air flight. I don't think we ever talked about this. An Airbus 220-300 registration, blah, 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 experienced commanded in-flight shutdown of the number one engine. Let's see. The flight crew reported hearing a loud bang that was followed by vibrations and an engine fire warning. The flight crew shut down the engine and the airplane returned to Busan without further incident. The engine was removed from the airplane and shipped to Pratt & Whitney's Columbus Engine Center, Columbus, Georgia, for disassembly and examination.
Is that where the cowboys live?
Yes, they got a...
They're out there. Cowboys working for them.
Yeehaw! They're out there near the stables and such. See where I have it here.
Yeehaw!
Yeah, that's them right now working on the engines. Let's see. The examination of the engine revealed one low-pressure turbine LPT Stage 3 blade number 52 that had a flat, planar, elliptical-shaped fracture surface at the rear half of the blade. I mean, I don't know why they didn't notice it when they were doing the walk-around.
Well, good point. Yeah, slap their hands.
The metallurgical examination of blade number 52 showed that the grain size and hardness conformed to the requirements for the specified IN-100 nickel alloy. The energy dispersive spectroscopy, EDS, of blade number 52 away from the origin. You know what? This is starting to sound like the turbo encabulator.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Thing. So I should probably stop talking because it's just a bunch of gobbledygook.
It's just a bunch of no terms.
Yeah. So apparently, something involved with the casting of this alloy into the blade was dirty, and there's some weakness in it, and it came apart.
And we've got 4 long paragraphs of explanation, which I'm sure Jeff will let you peruse at your leisure.
Yes,
in the show notes. Good luck.
Show notes will have the link. You'll enjoy.
It's a shame we haven't got Steph here. We could get her to read the whole thing.
Yeah, that would be fun. All right. Anyway, if you have any more questions about this, look it up in the show notes.
Absolutely.
Here's something that we can talk about a little bit more. Coherently, maybe. An American Airlines. Okay, this is from. Paddle your own canoe. Not again.
Oh, we get some good ones from them.
Yeah. An American Airlines contract cleaner removed 5 life vests from a passenger plane and replaced them with bricks of cocaine weighing at least 5 kilograms and with a street value of around $815,000 US. on a flight from St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands to Miami, Florida. Luis Ortiz Jr., his dad must be very proud of him. He's 25 years old, has reached a plea deal with prosecutors after being arrested in July 2019 for his part in the smuggling scheme. Ortiz could be incarcerated for life and faces a minimum sentence of 10 years behind bars, as well as a maximum fine of $100,000. He worked as an aircraft cleaner and used his privileged access to hide a sizable quantity of cocaine aboard American Airlines Flight 2227. Along with his girlfriend at the time, Ortiz recruited 2 drug mules who bought tickets for the flight and recovered the drugs shortly after boarding.
Didn't they notice there was a pair of mules trying to board the airplane?
You would think. Yeah, they'd be making all kinds of noise. And they'd be... Liz makes the point. They were emotional support mules. So nothing looked amiss.
That's fair enough, I suppose.
Yeah, eye-haul boxes, another crack story. Okay, yes. Surveillance footage recovered from St. Croix Rolson Airport on the evening of July 10, 2019 showed Ortiz wearing an oversized jacket, boarding a parked American Airlines plane in the middle of the night and immediately walking to rows 17 and 18 of the aircraft. He then lowered the window shades and 8 minutes later exited the aircraft carrying a package that was consistent in size with the life vests that were removed from rows 17 and 18. The following morning, the drug mules were instructed to get help from an American Airlines gate agent who allowed them to pre-board the flight and remove the drugs from the life vest bins without any other passengers around them. On arrival in Miami, the flight was met by Customs and Border Protection officers, and the 2 mules were taken into custody. They both pleaded guilty to possession with intent to distribute and have already been sentenced in a Florida court.
They'll do some hard time down there, won't they?
Yeah, I think they're going to do some time in the slammer for sure. Flight attendants aren't routinely tasked with making sure life vests haven't been tampered with, but airlines do carry out regular checks, which can range from making sure every life vest is correctly stowed to just sampling a certain percentage of them on board. Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's another novel way of smuggling.
Yep. I haul boxes again. I imagine that jet having to ditch and the powder flying everywhere. Happiest water landing ever.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's so nice. This water feels so good.
I know. You got a life vest? No, but I don't care.
Oh, man. All right. Moving on. This is from, again, paddle your own canoe. An airline pilot accused of murdering an elderly couple is suing his former employer for unfair dismissal after bosses sacked him when he was remanded into custody. Greg Lynn, 55 years old, of Caroline Springs to the west of Melbourne, Australia, stands accused of murdering elderly campers Carol Clay and Russell Hill. The couple went missing during a camping trip in March 2020. But their bodies were only found on November 30th, 2021. That's what, a year and a half later?
Yeah.
It took 2 months for police to eventually identify the couple because of the advanced level of decomposition of their bodies. Lynn was arrested in December and has not been found guilty of any crime ahead of his trial later this year. But bosses at Jetstar sacked him in January because his, quote, present circumstances prevent him from working as a captain on the airline's A320 fleet. The TWU, the Transport Workers Union, have taken up Lynn's case and has accused Jetstar of denying him procedural fairness. In a letter to the airline, the union said Lynn's dismissal was harsh, unjust, and unreasonable. The 2 sides were unable to come to an agreement, so the case has now been referred to the Fair Work Commission. Lynn, the accused pilot, argues that he can't be expected to attend work because he is in custody pending his trial, but he has not been found guilty of any crime or workplace misconduct. Yeah, like you're innocent until proven guilty, right?
Absolutely. And I suppose by the letter of the law, even, if this guy turns out to be guilty, then no one's going to care. But According to the letter of the law, you can't deny him his wages if he is currently innocent. I'm sure you could figure some way round. Most airlines, in my experience, when someone has been accused of a fairly heinous crime, they find a way to make them go away. So they usually have them resign. And I don't know what inducements they use, never having been in that situation.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't catch me. I suspect it would be monetary or something, because the airline just don't want to be associated with them as an employee anymore. But I think Jetstar probably made a bit of a mistake here. They should give the guy the benefit of the doubt unless, of course, the police have a cast iron case against him, in which case you've still got to wait for him to have a guilty verdict, but I have less sympathy for him.
Right. I mean, I know that he did it. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know that.
Yes. Well,
the
jury will.
He looks guilty to me.
Yeah, I must have been. He's not a conventional looking. Oh, I don't know.
He looks like a happy bloke.
He does.
Main man Micah makes a good point. I thought airline pilots were allowed to murder elderly couples, kind of like marrying people, like a captain on the ship 2 months.
Well, we usually keel haul them. Main man Micah, I think, as a captain of an aircraft, we're allowed to keel haul someone.
Sounds painful to me. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Well, you tie them to hands and feet and drag them under the bottom of your ship and up down one side and up the other. And they barely survived. No, keel hauling was a nasty piece. Oh, just make them walk the plank from 30,000 feet, you know.
Yeah, Tony Smith says if he turns out to be innocent, he will not need to work again. Yeah, true.
Well, yeah, he'll have a good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know what though? That elderly couple probably just wouldn't keep their yapping down, and he had to do something about it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Probably got hold of Dana's baseball bat.
Oh no. Oh, let's move on to this last item in the. You'll be happy to know, everybody. The last item in the news notebook, again from Paddle Your Own Canoe. Liz, you got to get. You need to start looking at other sources.
Have you got shares in Paddle Your Own Canoe or something?
And I think at least 50% of these stories are actually true. All right. So let's see. United Airlines will pay 2 veteran flight attendants more than $2 million in compensation after a federal appeals court agreed with a previous jury finding that the airline had fired the long-serving flight attendants based on their age. In a lengthy 52-page ruling, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals found that there was sufficient evidence for a jury to reasonably conclude that United had discriminated against the flight attendants because of their age. The dispute can be traced back to 2013 when a flight attendant made an internal complaint about 2 of her coworkers, Denver-based flight attendants Jeannie Stroop and Reuben Lee. Stroop and Lee were accused of breaking United's rules by watching a movie on an iPad while on duty during a flight, so a supervisor was tasked with observing them during a short flight between Denver and San Francisco around 5 weeks later. During this flight, the supervisor claims to have observed the flight attendants break a slew of safety and service standards. Lee was seen to smoke an e-cigarette during the flight. Both flight attendants sat on metal galley boxes in violation of safety rules, and they watched a video on an iPad together. Lee was also caught giving out a mini bottle of vodka to an economy passenger for free, not standing in the correct position for the safety demonstration. And breaking United's internal rule for carrying out a mid-flight water service. After several months of investigations, the 2 flight attendants decided to retire before they were fired. Stroop had worked as a flight attendant with United for 29 years, while Lee had been with United for more than 40 years. They were aged 55 and 61 years old, respectively, at the time they left United. Shortly after leaving the airline, the 2 ex-crew members filed a suit against United, claiming age discrimination. During a 5-day trial, the flight attendants convinced the jury that United's witnesses lacked credibility, that United's explanations were inconsistent, and that there had been no procedural irregularities. Stroop and Lee didn't try to hide the fact that they had broken the rules, but claimed they were commonplace and minor, and that similar transgressions from other flight attendants hadn't warranted dismissal. In fact, United's internal policies suggested flight attendants be subject to gradually escalating levels of discipline, but in this case, the airline was attempting to fire the crew members. We conclude that there was substantial evidence to support the jury's verdict, the appeal judges wrote in their verdict. More specifically, there was sufficient evidence for a jury to reasonably determine that United's stated reasons for disciplining plaintiffs were a pretext for unlawful age discrimination. The two flight attendants had sought $1 million in compensation, but owing to the appeal, United must now pay double the original sum. In an emailed statement, a spokesperson for United said, "It's not fair." No, they didn't say. They're proud of United is proud of its diverse workforce that includes employees in every age range. We will continue to hire and retain people who enjoy long careers at the airline, the statement concluded. Well, what do you think?
I think they would have. I mean, they obviously won the case, so but I think the fact that they resigned and weren't actually fired. For me, would be a clincher. I would go, well, you didn't even give the company a chance to complete its investigation and do a proper HR review of your actions, etc., etc. So you resigned before that occurred or was completed.
Yeah.
So I'm going, I don't understand why this case has gone the way it has.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. If they had definitely been fired, then I would think that they definitely have a case in court.
Absolutely.
But if they voluntarily retired, I don't know. I agree with you.
I mean, to me, it seems that they're sitting on a box watching a movie on your iPad and smoking your e-cigarette during flight would probably be sufficient grounds for firing without any warning. I don't know. You are the cabin crew are definitely the face of the company in front of the passengers, and their behaviour in the cabin while they're at work has to reflect the values of the company, and they definitely weren't doing that. I think it's completely irrelevant if they gave a passenger a vodka, because they might have been just trying to placate someone who something didn't quite work out for them. I'll give you a free drink. And there was something else there that was pretty trivial, so I don't know why he even brought that up. But after I think 2 reports, one from another cabin crew, presumably a senior one, and from one of their senior observers, that they were shirking their duties and behaving badly on the aircraft, I think that should have been sufficient to fire them.
I mean, it could be that they were just, both of them like super slackers. It appears that way from, some of the evidence presented here in this article.
Yeah.
But, as the point was made that, they're supposed to go through, escalating levels of discipline. And it seems they just wanted to shortcut this one and just go directly to trying to either, get them to, quit or eventually fire them. I don't know.
Yeah,
I agree with you there.
I don't know if the company have actually written down all the levels and what you need to do to achieve those levels. I'd need to have a look at their books to see their manuals.
Well, we'll go ahead and I have them here. I'll go ahead
please,
and
if you could
get them
just
shipped over
email
to you.
them to me.
Okay,
Thanks.
we'll do. In the meantime, though, I think that it's now time, thank goodness, for the Getting to Know Us segment. And, of course, that means that it's our time to get all caught up with one another, what we've been doing between shows. And, Nicholas,
yes,
how about yourself? What have you been up to since... when did we record last week? It was earlier in the week, wasn't it?
Saturday. It was, I think.
Okay,
Yes,
so it was just over a week ago then.
Yeah,
Okay.
a week and a day.
Okay.
And the answer to your question is I've been having COVID tests and then a quick visit to hospital to have a hose pipe stuck down my throat, which was not. I didn't want to have. Jilly is going to need a new a leg operation, so I've been trying to take up or not give her lots of things to do, like drive me to hospital, etc. So I did this endoscopy without any form of sedation, so that I could drive home again, and it's no drama if you can stay relaxed, but it was damned uncomfortable. You've all seen the movie Alien. I felt sure at one point he was going to stick this probe out through my chest. But, oops. And excuse me, I quite enjoyed watching the pictures, but when we got to the bit that I started leaning as he moved in front of the TV screen so I could see round him, but he obviously didn't want me there, so he just stood right in front of me. He didn't want me looking at it, so I thought, that's a bit mean. But
what did it look like? Was it all like pink?
Yeah, it was pink and slimy, just like you'd expect it to be. And having, fasted and things so that, you don't get anything in the way. He was basically looking to see how my hiatus hernia was getting on. And it's in hiatus, or whatever that means. I don't know.
I think that's a good thing then, right?
It's having a good time. Yes, it's fine. It's low grade, and he wasn't worried about it, so that's great. So that's out of the way. I've still got various follow-ups after my little heart problem that I'm still trying to knock on the head. But more importantly, the lovely wife is heading off to have her leg chopped off. Not really. Although I think
Pip was wondering if he could have their leg, the old leg.
Yeah, sure, no probs. Just part of her leg, the knee to be. Yes, that's fair enough. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to be a busy boy doing everything around the house that I and Jilly normally do separately. I'll be doing it all for a few weeks, so there may be a slight hiccup in the production of Plain Tales because I'm going to be a bit flat-strapped, to tell the truth. So,
we're expecting. Yeah, we'll do a rerun. So we got it covered, or we just not. We'll just take the week off, whatever.
Yeah, that may be even easier, but we'll see how it goes. And apart from that, I'm feeling pretty good now. I've really cut down on my alcohol for some reason. I just don't feel like I want so much. So that's kind of got to be a good thing, hasn't it?
Yeah, give your liver a chance to regenerate.
I'm currently drinking milk. How worrisome is that?
Very. Well, I'm drinking tonic water without any gin. So.
Well, I've been cutting all the acid out of my diet, so
I would imagine that's probably helping the reflux, right? Not having so much alcohol.
Exactly. I mean, they take you off your preventative drugs beforehand, and of course that makes you worse, much worse. But at least I'm back on those now, so that's good. The world of shrunken shirts and bone soup, yes. And the dogs aren't going to be very impressed either.
Well, we do know somebody on the crew, Nick, that we can send on over there if you need some help with the ironing.
Yes, of course.
Liz, do we have any
Rick?
Updates from Rick?
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on a second. We're trying to. Okay, he's coming in now. Here it is. Oh, there he is. Awesome.
Oh, nice job.
Rick showing us how to iron a white uniform shirt. Oh, he's trying to say something. Hey, Rick, again, you need to do something with the microphone. We can't hear you. No, it doesn't work.
No, and comb your hair. You look a complete mess.
Okay, that's enough. And that's why Rick isn't with us today. He's busy ironing.
Absolutely. But I did manage to get a Plain Tale out for this week, and I quite enjoyed doing this one. So this was good and quite apt considering what's going on over in Ukraine today.
Okay, very good. All right, that it? That's a lot, actually. Okay. Let me see here. I think. Why did not? Oh, we didn't do a show on Friday, Liz, because that was the last day and basically the last leg of my 3-day trip. And all I had to do was just fly the airplane back from Lexington, Kentucky to Atlanta.
And you couldn't even do that.
I think it had something to do with Greg Peterson. I'm not sure how, because I didn't see him, but I'm thinking he must have done something to my airplane to cause it to be on the ground for a little bit longer than we had anticipated. And it just basically had an issue with kind of a fume event, basically, from the air conditioning packs. And we kind of finally narrowed the problem down to a leaking oil from the APU that somehow the oil got sucked into the filter bags on the air conditioning packs, which I don't understand how that happened because the air conditioning packs are like above them, quite a ways above them. So I don't know. By that point, I had already been extracted from the situation because our crew tracking folks were looking at. So basically, when I smelled the smell going on with the packs, and then I thought, well, they're maybe just a little bit warm or something. But then when Kurt, my first officer, came back up, he says, and he closes the cockpit door and he says, Jeff, I need to show you something. I went, uh-oh. Kurt's I mentioned this before, he's really good at being very particular about everything on the airplane, which is a good thing. But in this case, it was a pretty obvious thing. He was showing me the pictures on his phone of the tail cone, where the tail cone mated with the fuselage of the aircraft, and looked like some oil kind of running along the seam and then running down to the keel area of the tail section of the airplane, and then eventually dripping onto the ground. And I went, I wonder if that has something to do with this weird smell that we're smelling in the air conditioning system. And so I thought, yeah, even though this is my last flight, my getting home flight, this is concerning enough to me that we should have this investigated a little bit more. So we contacted our company's maintenance, and they said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and have we don't have any Acme full-time maintenance there. We have a contract with another mechanic service or maintenance service there at the airport. So that gentleman came by and undid some panels and looking around, and actually looking at the APU itself, I didn't see any evidence at all of oil coming from it at least that part of the APU. And the oil reservoir was at showing full, so it didn't look like there was a huge leak. So we were kind of scratching our heads on this one. And then finally, maintenance control in Atlanta finally said, I think that because the airlines are very sensitive, as we've seen over time doing the show with, smoke and fume events. There was no smoke in this case, just kind of a different kind of a smell or a fume. And so they're kind of sensitive about that. So I had to fill out a smoke and fumes report. And then they said, we're going to send some mechanics, mainline mechanics down from Cincinnati, which is the closest hub that we have. And they weren't flying, they were driving. I think it's about a little over an hour drive, I think, from Cincinnati to Lexington. And of course they had to find a couple of mechanics that could do that, and then, try to get some parts that they think that could possibly be swapped out, etc. And then, of course, they didn't have the parts, the filter bags that they were thinking that they were going to need to change out. So they had to have those flown up from Atlanta. So you get the picture. Everything was being drawn out, this delay. At first I was hoping that we'd be able to get this problem resolved with because we had fully boarded the airplane at this point, and was keeping the passengers advised as to what was happening with the situation. And then finally we went, okay. No, we weren't handing out free vodka at that point, Liz. But no alcohol. We don't need to, make the situation any worse.
What was the cocaine like, though?
What's that? The cocaine?
What was the cocaine like?
Row 17 and rows 18, there were a couple of kilos of cocaine. Yeah, they did seem to be pretty happy around that area of the airplane. But anyway, so they they finally decided, yeah, this is going to take a little bit longer than we anticipated. So we're going to go ahead and, have the passengers deplane and try to, accommodate as many of them as possible on other flights to Atlanta. Although every flight to Atlanta that day from Lexington was oversold. So didn't really, not much you could really do. So finally, crew tracking looked at all the numbers, and we were up pretty early in Wichita that morning, about 5:30-ish Eastern time, and it was getting pretty obvious that we weren't going to be able to fly the flight back to Atlanta when they finally had resolved the situation. So they said, okay, we're going to have you lay over here in Lexington, and then deadhead on the morning flight. It's like a 6 o'clock in the morning flight. And I'm thinking, I think I'd rather jump seat on one of our flights going back to Atlanta in the evening, and because they were supposed to get a pretty significant snow event in Lexington. Yeah, it's a very short flight. It's about an hour flight from Lexington to Atlanta. If you went straight as the crow flies, it would be much shorter, maybe a 45-minute flight. But because of the routing that you have to take to kind of get all sequenced in with all the traffic coming into the 4 basic gates into Atlanta, it's a little bit longer. Anyway, it was a very, very long day. Finally got back to Atlanta. I think it was about 8:30 when we were finally pulling into the gate. And then it was another... it was a very long ride on the crew transportation out to the employee parking lot.
Yes, what was going on there?
I guess that time of night, they close some of the other security gates, and they have to take this gate on the south side of the airport. And I don't know. I've never seen any of these roads before, and it was dark, and I'm thinking, what do they do? Where's this driver taking us? I thought we were being hijacked. Yes, Liz. And then I think I mentioned to the crew on messages that I think that this driver is driving us to Alabama.
Yes.
Starting here in Georgia.
The banjo on my knee.
Yeah. Anyway, so we finally got to the parking lot and got in the car. And by the time I got back here to the Roswell house, which is where I am right now, it was probably around 10:30 or so. So very long day. But, I think they finally fixed the problem with the jet, and they finally got the airplane back in Atlanta. And I'm sure taken offline to figure out exactly where that oil was coming from. But so that was my little story on Friday, and that's why it became very clear, pretty early on, that we weren't going to be able to do a show on Friday. So do apologize for that. But while I was on my trip and the second layover, the first night was in Myrtle Beach, the second night in Wichita, and one of our co-hosts, who is not with us today, probably spending good quality time with his family, or maybe traveling. I don't know. We're not sure. He's not with us today, but I did get to see Nick Macho Camacho in. Do I want to do number 16 while we're talking about Nick Macho Camacho? Sure, why not? JJ, not Pittsburgh, some feedback we received from him, says, Nick needs a call sign here at Acme so that we did not confuse him with Captain Nick. HR problems and such. I vote that we call him Nick Macho Camacho. Thanks for the content. Listening to the APG show is one of my highlights each week. Thanks, JJ, not Pittsburgh. So thank you very much. And I guess it's kind of stuck in my head. Nick Macho Camacho. I like him. I like it. In fact, maybe his intro music now has to be Macho, Macho Man. Yeah. All right. Let's see. So we'll think about that. Thank you, Liz. She says we're just past the hour mark at this point. Let's see. So let me get back to Wichita. Well, not really, but in my recollection of my trip, called up, or actually texted Nick Macho Camacho and let him know that I was going to be there. And I said, first of all, I feel like we're already kind of, taking too much of your time away from your family as it is. So don't worry about, I'm going to be there on a layover, but don't worry about coming, driving over and taking my first officer and I out to lunch or anything. And he said, well, the kids are in school and, my wife is tired of me and doesn't want me to, and he doesn't want to do any work. And so he said, I'll come by and we'll go someplace for lunch. So we ended up going to a Korean barbecue place of all places, Wichita, Kansas. And it was very good, called Gangnam Korean barbecue. And so we did the full
style.
Gangnam style. Yeah, that's what we did. Gangnam style Korean barbecue, I guess. And had a really, really good meal. So really enjoyed that, Nick. And good to see you. And hopefully we'll see you again on our next show. And the other thing I want to mention is I'll be, not this next trip that I'm going to be on Wednesday, but the following week on Tuesday, the 22nd of what month is this? March. Thank you. Sean, one of our APG community members, noticed by looking at the APG community calendar where I have my schedule now. I'm finally getting around to doing that again. He noticed that I was going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma on the 22nd, and he asked if it would be okay if his wife and he'd take me and my first officer out to dinner. And anybody else that might happen to be in the Tulsa area. And of course, when you think of Tulsa, you always think about Larry Geezer and also Josh Glaze. And unfortunately, Josh is out of town. But we're going to have a meetup on the 22nd. We're going to go to the Mahogany Steakhouse. And Larry Geezer is going to meet us as well. And the first officer on that trip is the same one that I had on this trip and the next one on Wednesday. But he doesn't want to be a fifth wheel, he says. So he's going to bow out. Anyway, so he's bowing out. But so it's going to be Sean and his wife and Larry Geezer and myself and maybe you if you happen to be in the Tulsa area or somewhere near. We are, Larry is my date. Thank you, Liz. You may want to join us at the Mahogany Steakhouse. And so if you are interested, just contact us over here. You can just send it directly to me, Jeff, at airlinepilotguy.com, and we'll give you all the details. Okay, and that's it for cover art. Let's talk about last episode's cover art. Oh wow! It's a messy, crappy piece of artwork.
Yes, I know.
Nick,
sorry about that. Best I could do.
Yeah. So of course we entitled the show "Supersonic Crap Can." You'll have to listen to understand the context. And there's a beautiful illustration of a crap can going supersonic with the little supersonic. What do you call that? Shockwave, I guess?
Yeah, that's the old low-pressure shockwave creator is the airframe goes supersonic. Yeah, and there's a brown shockwave as well.
Yes. Yes, that's the one that Liz just used, a different word that can't use because, starts with an S and ends with a T, wave. It's kind of yucky looking. But thank you very much anyway.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. I hope we can have a slightly more tasteful one this week.
Yeah. Well, Liz does make the point that it's a happy cover art because there's a rainbow in the background.
Absolutely, yes. I needed a background just to make it all look a bit different. So that's the one that popped up. Good, isn't it? I like it.
Yep. Very, very memorable. So thank you again for all your creative talent, Nick.
I love it.
It's
You're
pretty
welcome.
crappy. All right.
Yeah.
And with
Talking
that,
crappy.
I think it's now time to do some crappy coffee fund talk. And let's get Jeff Smith. He's waiting in the wings. Jeff, how about some coffee fund music? All right.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. Cup. Oh yeah. Again, as I said, Jeff Smith sings the APG Java Jive, and we're going to talk about the Coffee Fund, which is your way to support the show financially if you have the resources to do so. And a couple different ways to do it. One is the Coffee Fund Classic method. Since the last show, we have George Hollis coming in with a nice contribution to our Coffee Fund, the Coffee Fund Classic method. And thank you, George. Also, we have another mechanism to contribute and become part of our Coffee Fund cadre, and that is called Patreon, and you can become a patron. And since the last episode, we have 2 new producers. One, Philip Timmer, and of course, James Taylor, the famous You Got a Friend singer guy, right? I think that's the one. Same one? Maybe not? I don't know. So James Taylor, Philip Timmer, thank you for signing up to be patrons of the show. We do really appreciate that. So if you want to learn how you can join this great group of folks, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did. We will too. I don't need a break. Do you need one, Nick? Oh. All right. Very good. Then why don't we do this?
Captain, incoming message.
All right. I think this first piece of, well, I don't think. I know that this first piece of feedback is from Gordy. And I think earlier was with us on or in the live audience. He may still be. If you are, sir, make sure that you say something or forever hold your peace. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and read this feedback from Gordy. He says, "Hi, Captain Jeff. Thanks so very much for the shout-out on the show, Tracks of My Gears. I actually love the song Tracks of My Tears." Huh, I never even thought about the similarity. I'm sorry for forgetting to mention Miami Rick and Liz. They are also great, and Rick has some really great points of view. Just some, though.
Yeah, not many.
Not all, yeah. To clarify, I actually live, I wasn't sure because I was looking at the photos on it, or actually the videos, and it looked to me like it could not be Dubai because of just all the lush greenery and everything else, but apparently I don't know much about Dubai myself. He says, I'm sorry. To clarify, I actually live in Dubai and have done so for the past 10 years. Although Dubai is mainly covered in sand, the various communities have green grass and plants, all preserved through a systematic irrigation system. So I can understand why it may have looked as if it's in a cooler climate. Captain Nick is absolutely correct in his thoughts that used cars in Dubai are not expensive. Most of the cars in the show are under $10,000. There's some pretty nice cars, too, in his collection. Although FOs in the Middle East are paid fairly well compared to other regions, depending on flight hours flown, it's not uncommon to earn around $12,000 per month. Well, thanks again. It really made my day to hear my channel on the show. I'm hoping to give a shout out to APG on my next episode. All the best, guys. Keep up the great work. And again,
great.
That's
good to
Gordy.
hear from you, Gordy.
And I've already forgotten what the name of his channel. Gordy in Color, I think, is his channel name on YouTube. All right. Well, let's keep moving on. Yeah, Color with a U. He misspells it, but oh well.
You cheeky man.
Yeah, Carolina Jeff sent this in. He says, "Hello, APG crew. I'm a long time listener, as in I heard APG 1 when it first hit the podcast sphere." Wow.
Good Lord.
That was May of 2011. That's a very long time. Thanks so much for the many years of entertainment and information. What started as a great show is now crap. No, I'm sorry. Crap.
Well, the last show certainly was, yeah.
Oh, let me restart that sentence. What started as a great show is now just absolutely awesome. Thank you very much for saying so.
Excellent.
Carolina Jeff. By the way, I like the name. I've always felt a connection to this podcast and a few of its hosts for a few reasons. First, the town I grew up in has always prided itself as being the birthplace of the airline Captain Jeff flies for. A gold star, if you can guess it. Anybody?
Acme
any
Gold
ideas
Star.
here? Nick, do you have any idea where the birthplace of Acme Airlines is?
I guess
There's no way that you would ever know this.
Oh, really? Okay.
It is, yes, Liz. Yeah, you're right. It's Louisiana because it was a town named for the Mississippi River. They call that area a delta region, a delta, like a river delta. I don't know why they named it Acme, honestly. But anyway, you're getting pretty warm there, Liz. It's Monroe, Louisiana. Yep. Okay. And let's see. Second, I spent many years living in the Atlanta area, in Sandy Springs, Woodstock, and Canton, which is not very far from where I am right now.
Is that the Woodstock?
No, it's not. That one is in New York, the state of New York. I guess every state probably has a Woodstock. Just a stone's throw away from Captain Jeff and Captain Dana. Over the last 13 years, I've been living in the Carolinas, inadvertently in a neighboring town to Dr. Steph. Hint, the town with love in the middle. Another gold star if you can correctly guess it. I'm not sure about that one. Love in the middle. I'm sure that Steph would know. Oh, okay, Liz is cheating. She's looking at a map, so maybe she'll be able to fill us in when she sees it. Okay, well, I'm going to continue reading, and then you can interrupt me when you find it. For the longest time, I've been the kid/adult standing at the airport perimeter with his fingers entwined in the airport fence. I am the aviation nerd who stops and looks up every time a plane goes by, making sure to point it out to any family member that is nearby. I think we can all relate to that, actually. If there is a discussion about airplanes or aviation-related topics, I always have something to contribute. Yeah, I am that guy. One of my dreams has always been to get my private pilot certificate. However, due to cost, it was always only a dream. It would seem that every time I was in a position where I could afford lessons, well, my wife and I would decide to do something just as expensive, if not more. We would have a baby. Final tally would be 3 strapping boys. Oh yeah, more than one baby. Well, fast forward many years, one has moved out on his own. Number 2 will be moving out the next month or two, which leaves the youngest who is about to graduate from high school. Very good. So I'm finally at a point where I can start to fulfill my dream. As long as nothing really crazy happens, the plan is to start lessons in the fall. That's great. Since I have a good chunk of time before I get started, I thought I would ask the group a few questions that would help me to prepare for lessons. The flight school is a Cessna Pilot Center, so the Cessna Private Pilot Kit I will need to buy will include an enrollment key for the King School's online ground study course, which will allow me to work on the ground school portion and possibly have the written test completed prior to flight lessons. So, what other things can I do in advance to prepare myself for the actual flying lessons?
Oh, buy some decent sunglasses.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Ray-Bans, preferably.
Probably some good headset, because it's going to be noisy. I recommend the Bose.
Yeah, and a really neat flight bag.
Yes.
To carry all your manuals in.
Engraved or emblazoned with, like, Maverick or something like that. Somehow tie in Top Gun.
Yep.
Yeah, what are some things to look for in a flight school and a CFI? Hoping Dr. Steph will be able to help.
They need some airplanes. Just check they've got those.
Yeah, flight school with airplanes is a good start. He said, hoping that Dr. Steph would be able to help, since I think she might be familiar with the school and CFIs at the airport just south of us, which is Kilo Uniform Zulu Alpha. Does that help at all, Liz, with figuring out what the town name with love? Well, that's not the same. Let's see. I've heard that the cockpit of the airplane is not the best classroom. If it is not the CFI's normal practice to spend ample time prior to each flight to fully brief on what the plan is for each flight, basically explaining the maneuvers before starting the engine, is this something I can and should insist on? And is there anything that is not in the brochure that I should expect, like extra costs, possible roadblocks, etc.? Did any of you experience a hurdle or setbacks in your primary flight training that you're willing to share? And if so, how did you overcome the hurdle or setback? Even at 52 years of age, I almost feel like a kid again, knowing that I'm finally going to be in an airplane on the other side of the airport fence. I can only hope that the CFI I'm matched up with will not mind working with someone like me and will be able to help me hold back my excitement just enough so that I can learn everything correctly and safely. Thank you once again for the fabulous podcast and all the great advice I know you will be happy to share. Sincerely, Carolina Jeff. All right, so unfortunately, this might be something, Liz, that we hold it over to the next episode, because Nick Camacho, Macho Man, is a GA guy. Steph is a GA lady, and Miami Rick is also a GA guy, and I don't think any of them are CFIs, or that Dana is a CFI, but anyway. Oh yeah, he's not starting the lessons to the fall. So yeah, we do have time to ask the people that are more intimately involved with general aviation to help you, and I'm sure they'll have some great advice. I think that just doing as much preparation as you can, reading ahead in the ground school, literature, training, syllabus is a good idea. I'm not sure what the practice is these days. I'm assuming that it's a Part 61 school, which would mean kind of a one-on-one with the same instructor all the time and kind of going at your own pace. Although it says he says things to look for in a flight school, so maybe Part 141 school might be even better for you. And again, I think Nick, Macho Man, and Dr. Steph, and possibly even Miami Rick might be better to ask regarding that. iHall Boxes has another great comment. If he's been listening for so long, it won't be long before his CFI will need to ask him for advice.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what? Speaking of podcasts, since he's listening to ours, I'm probably pretty sure that he's also listening to one that I think would be very helpful, which is the Opposing Bases podcast, because that, any information that you can glean regarding the air traffic control side of things would be extremely helpful for somebody just starting out. And so you kind of understand how aircraft or control towers work. Now, I don't know if KUZA is a towered airport or a uncontrolled field, but still, eventually you'll be interacting with air traffic control and understanding all the different airspace requirements and that sort of thing. So I think that listening to Opposing Bases would be one of my top things for you to do to help you prepare for this. Yeah, that'll be another $50 that you'll have to bill Opposing Bases, Liz. Thank you.
Yeah. They haven't paid the first one, have they?
No, they haven't been very good about that.
Coming.
Yeah. We'll have to get the lawyers on them. We do have more information for Jeff? Oh, we will. We'll get more information, Jeff. So, hang in there. Thank you very much for all the nice, kind comments about the show, and congratulations on finally having the cash to get this done. And man, you're going to love it. It's going to be great, and I can't wait for Steph and Nick and Rick. Will be able to chip in, and as Liz just mentioned, maybe you can kind of keep us filled in with the progress of your lessons and your journey. That would be very cool to kind of live vicariously through you. All right. What? Oh, yeah. By the way, that Opposing Bases, I believe those guys are, the Mythical Triad. I'm thinking maybe it's in one of the Carolinas. I'm not sure. So, anyway.
How many Carolinas have you got?
Only two. We got a north and a south.
Sound like there's dozens.
Well, there could be. I don't know. Those are the only two I know anything about.
By the way, it was great feedback, Carolina Jeff. You misspelt maneuvers, but apart from that, you did a very good job.
He misspelled manure. Okay.
And he is quite right. The aircraft is not necessarily the best classroom. So someone who takes his time in the pre-briefing is essential, and a decent debrief as well. So if you've got someone who just wants to collect their dollar and dump you and move on to the next student, then he is definitely a CFI to move away from and find somebody else. And it is very much your choice. If you're paying the money, you can pick the guy who you think is going to give you a great experience, knows his stuff, and you blend with, you get on well with.
Yes. Yeah, insist on it, because you're the one that's spending all the money on it.
Oh,
and,
don't feel embarrassed. Not everybody gets together.
And if you feel like the instructor that you're matched with is just not a good match, not a good fit, then don't be shy about saying, hey, you seem like a really nice guy, but it's my way of learning things isn't jiving with the way that you're instructing, and just get a different instructor, because this is the one and only time that you're going to have all these initial flights, and the one and only time that you're going to be going for your private pilot certificate. So you might as well make it the best you can.
Yep.
Good point, Nick. Okay, let's continue on with, looks like we have some video to play, but before I do, you know what I'm thinking? Maybe I'll just go ahead and play the video, kind of like background roll, B-roll, while I'm reading this. So let me, I think I put it in here. Here it is. Okay, I'm going to mute it here and then add to stream. So here we go. This video is from DJ's Aviation. It's a YouTube channel, and this was sent in by DJ. No. Who did send this in? Texas and LaShock. He says, "Greetings, Captain Jeff and APG crew. I thought I'd share a video that came out the other day from YouTube channel DJ's Aviation. It's one of those things that started off as a hobby but has seemingly morphed into a career, to the point that he has flown over to the United States to cover the launch of a new airline, Northern Pacific Airways, and had the opportunity to interview the CEO of said airline and cover the unveiling of their first 757 in company colors. Not bad for a kid just over drinking age." Yeah, I think he just turned 21. In this video, he interviews Edmund Hout. I'm not sure how you pronounce Huot. Any ideas, Liz? That looks like a Canadian French name. What? Anyway, the guy responsible for the airline's livery and much of their branding as well. They discuss aspects of aircraft liveries and branding in general, some of the history of liveries, and where the future might lead. It's one of those topics we don't think about that often, but it is still an important part of the industry. I know that the airplane geeks have had some spirited discussion about it. With that said, what are some airline liveries that you really like? For me, my favorite is the final TWA livery. It has a very stately, regal look to it and looked good on just about all their aircraft. If it had been up to me, when the merger with American came along, I'd have had them drop the bare metal scheme right then and modify the TWA livery. I think it would if it worked pretty well. It already uses the colors red, white, and blue. Yeah, I know you misspelled colors. Even that yellow band wouldn't have been out of place. American flags frequently have that gold fringe around the edges. You could keep the front of the lettering and replace Trans World with American Airlines. The only thing I couldn't think of a way to adapt was the tail, which had the TWA in block letters on it. Maybe put the eagle there, the American Airlines eagle. And while we're on the topic, perhaps Captain Jeff can shed some light on something I've been curious about for a while. Back in the early 2000s, there seemed to be a period of time when Acme Airlines had 3 different liveries at once. One with a dark blue tail and a cheat stripe, the one with the colors on the tail, and the current one, which was just being rolled out around then. It's like they switched liveries and then switched again before they had gotten to the entire fleet. And you're right, it doesn't seem that way. It actually did happen that way. And there was actually a 4th in there as well. In 2002, I flew on an MD-90 that had somehow not gotten any of the new paint jobs and was still wearing the classic livery that dated back to the 60s. Was this something Acme pilots noticed? Was there any information from the top, or did you not care how it looked as long as it flew? That's all for now. Wishing you clear skies. This is the Texas and LaShock signing off. So I'll answer that last part of his feedback first before I forget about it. Yeah, it seemed that every time we ended up getting a new chief executive officer or a man in charge of the airline, there needed to be a change of the livery at Acme. It's like, oh yeah. In fact, we referred to them as the various CEO names when we were talking about the livery, so everybody understood what particular paint scheme we were talking about. It seemed like a waste of money to most of us. Did we ever get any guidance or explanation from the powers that be at the top of the stack? No. Did we care? Not really. We had our opinions about it, but as you say there, as long as the airplanes flew well and were well maintained as they are at Acme, then that's really all we cared about. So. Oh, so yeah, Liz was reminding me that he was asking me if there are any liveries that I really like, and I don't know. I'm kind of nostalgic, I guess. What was the Brazilian airline that I think it is no longer flying? I can't think of the. It starts with a V, I think.
Varig.
Yeah, Varig. I don't think they're flying anymore, are they? I always liked their livery because it kind of reminded me of the liveries of the 60s and early 70s, and that one line that kind of went along the window line. And maybe it's because I was a kid and just in love with aviation back then, and to me that was just like the way to paint an airplane, and being. Yeah, and then being a pilot has killed that love. No, it hasn't. I still have the love. But I really like, in fact, a lot of airlines will do these retro paint schemes every once in a while. And it's so cool sometimes to see. I think American Airlines does that a lot. You'll see like an airplane painted in PSA colors, Pacific Southwest Airlines, Air Canada. Yeah, all these, they'll do some retro paint jobs every now and then. And I just love to see those. What do you think, Nick? I know that you probably are kind of taken by or hold a special place in your heart with the Virgin paint schemes.
Yeah, the initial ones weren't really brilliant, but they haven't really changed that much. What they've done is go for a style of paint and a color that I think really reflects the airline's character. So the kind of bright lipstick red that they currently have that is metallic and really glistens. It looks fantastic. I love it. That's great. But that's common with a lot of airlines. In fact, Varig, we used to have that really nice looking Go Faster stripe down there. Now just has a coloured tail and Varig written down the fuselage, or did it once it dropped the old scheme at the end of the century. And moved into the new one. My personal I've always liked the Cathay Pacific paint scheme, which really revolves around their logo, which I think was very clever. They made it look like a sort of seagull bird in flight, just a very simple shape. But it looks like it's drawn by a calligraphy brush, a Chinese calligraphy brush. And I always thought that was very elegant. And they didn't overdo anything. They had, it was a bit of a joke initially. They painted a big, broad colour around the bottom half of the aircraft, which is a kind of very pale grey. And then everyone said it looks like the airplane had been dipped in the harbour. And it was the waterline. Exactly. Yeah. But no, it had very, very nice. But most airlines nowadays, except for those really exotic ones, just have the fin and then simple lettering down the fuselage or on the belly, which I quite like. And then they often have a little niche thing, whether it be the winglets or something, which stand out well and make them very easy to see. I always like the red engines on Virgin because when you looked up at the aircraft, you could almost always tell what airline it was. Then other airlines started picking up on that, and I don't know whether it was deliberate or not, but a number of airlines use that trick of having bright red engines.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of time and effort put in by the corporate departments of these various airlines to get their image across. And for me, they don't make many mistakes, but there are some really nice ones out there that look very chic.
Yeah. Well, Liz is plugging for the home team. She says she really does love the new Air Canada livery. That black with the red maple leaf. Okay.
Yeah, the maple leaf very. I mean, it's a very clear and distinctive logo, and you can't miss it. It's a bit like that ugly mess they've got on Alaska's. I mean, it's an ugly mess, but you know it's Alaska, don't you? Because
that's Abraham Lincoln on the tail.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. And
just kidding. It's not. It's not really Abraham Lincoln.
Well, he hasn't got his top hat on for a start.
Right. That's why it's hard to recognize.
There you go. Absolutely.
I think Main Man Micah in our live audience is saying that something about the old Braniff livery, and I don't know, that was a little too exotic for me. That it was like super bright, modern colors. Yeah, like pop art on the jet. Not my particular cup of tea, but anyway, lots of great examples of great liveries out there.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, we'll stop the video. Thank you. Thank you very much, Liz. And no love for Air Force Gray. Well, I guess if different strokes for different folks, I-haul boxes.
Well, I flew a lot of grey airplanes. They don't stay clean for very long. That's the problem.
Well, you would think that dark gray would be a good way to hide all the dirt, right?
Well, not really. Maybe. Not when black boots scrub black messes and all the oil and stuff. Just because it's a matte finish, non-reflective finish. It just soaks up all the dirt, and they start looking like a filthy mess after a while. I quite like the green and grey that the Air Force had on our Phantoms before it went pure defense. That was a kind of a forest camouflage color. They always look good.
We always joked around. One of the paint schemes on the C-141 Starlifter was a kind of a green and gray camo, and we called it the lizard because it looked like a lizard. We always joke around when we're like driving in the crew van to the airplane, and people go, "Oh, where is the airplane? I can't see the airplane. I can't see." Yeah. Because, it's camouflaged. Anyway, Jonathan sends us some feedback regarding pronunciation, which I don't know why he thinks we need any help with that. He says, a bit of pronunciation help for you all. Guangzhou is pronounced Guangzhou. I'm not Chinese and don't speak Mandarin, but I've taught journalism. Yep, I'm one of them. Hopefully not aviation journalism, in Hangzhou. Oh, now he just spelled it differently. Oh, he's really trying to confuse me. In Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Kunming, and Nanjing, and am very familiar with the English pronunciation of most Chinese cities. Anyway, thanks for the podcast and for listening. Oh, what does he mean? We weren't listening to him. I guess listening or reading his feedback, I guess. Sending this from an Acme Junior flight to St. Louis for my dad's heart surgery. Just kidding. I know it's St. Louis. For my dad's heart surgery. Still hoping we can meet up at some point. Cheers, Jonathan in Minneapolis. Absolutely, Jonathan. In the future, I plan on with my vagabond lifestyle and hotel living. Yeah, I might. My nomadic lifestyle. Chances are I'll be going through Minneapolis from time to time on the way home to my home state, South Dakota. So hopefully we'll get a chance to meet up at that point. And I hope that your dad's heart surgery went well. All right. Continuing on, and speaking of, I don't know, do we have any... Oh, is he in the chat room? Okay, let's skip this one then. No, I'm just kidding. This is from Tim Van Ram. You ever heard of that guy?
Yeah, he's in the chat room.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He says, I found this article on CNN about Laird Kay, a designer in Toronto that turned his aviation hobby into a new career. Speaking of the livery of Air Canada, we're showing that right now on the video. Anyway, I thought this was a wonderful story and want to share it with the APG community. Here's a link to his story. Enjoy, Tim Van Ram.
Okay, here's a bit of symbolism. Why is the circle around that maple leaf? Why does it not complete? Why does it stop just before the bottom?
Well, because the circle doesn't make...
It's a broken circle.
Because the elevator doesn't go all the way to the top? I don't know. Not the sharpest knife in the drawer? I don't know. It's a Canadian thing. You're never going to understand it. Let's see. So the headline of the article from CNN Travel is how this av geek turned his hobby into a job. I'm just going to read a little bit. It's a very long article and filled with a lot of photos, and we are just going to show
great pictures,
a few of them here. Yeah, he's very talented. Asked to choose an icon of beauty, most people think of a landscape, a city skyline, or a work of art. Laird Kay, on the other hand, would say an airplane. The av geek who fell in love with planes as a child on vacation has always seen aircraft as objects of beauty as well as of convenience.
Oh, this is gorgeous. I love the symbolism of the V made by those two lines of windows. That's just perfect.
Yeah, we're seeing the reflection of the line of windows in the top of the wing.
It's a very clever piece of photography.
Yeah, I think it's a Gulfstream. That's that very classic Gulfstream kind of oblong kind of oval
windows. Not sure why they've painted those two windows at the rear with white circles around them.
I'm wondering if it has something to do with maybe emergency access or emergency egress, and maybe those are windows that the fire rescue folks would use to break in. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there knows something
Perhaps
about
it needs
Gulfstream.
a nose and a smiley mouth.
Well, that's true. Does now look like... Now I can't... Yeah, an eye to the sky, Craig Messerman says, leads the eye
it does.
to the sky.
It produces a nice pair of converging lines that lead your eye up and, looking where the aircraft's pointing up into the sky. It's good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So this is there's a picture of Laird right there with his fancy camera and his safety vest. He says, this av geek who fell in love with planes I already talked about that. And in his job as an airplane photographer, he allows the rest of us to see things through his eyes. In Kay's photos, airplanes become birds mid-flight, frozen in time on the runway and shot from above. Their wings soar, their noses look like curious beaks. His photos make even details like rivets, insulation, and exhaust pipes look beautiful. I hear some frogs. Planes are, he says, beautiful objects of sculpture. His story is a fascinating one of a man who turned his hobby into a profession. Perhaps the most astonishing thing is that although he's now employed by the likes of Lufthansa, Air Canada, and Virgin Atlantic, until a few years ago, he was working in a completely different job and planes were his hobby. Anyway, so it goes on to talk a little bit about his
It doesn't seem like we have the one with the wide-angle shot from the back of an exec jet from a gantry. We don't have that one, Liz?
I don't think so. I don't think that's one that I...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So
if you do take the time to look at them in the show notes, you'll see one taken just above the fin, and he's used a really wide-angle lens to emphasize and distort the shape of the aircraft, so it actually does look like a bird. It's beautiful. Really nice job.
Yep. So check it out.
Oh, Deborah says that's where you get the syrup. So if you find the bottom of the airplane's a bit sticky, you'll know what caused it.
Oh, the break in the circles where the syrup
syrup leaks
leaks out that. That makes sense.
It makes the airplane all sticky.
Yeah, when you're doing your walk around, you have to take special care to avoid that area. You gotta, give it a wide berth so you don't get sticky stuff on your shoes.
I like it, Deborah, but if you have to have someone explain it to you, it doesn't work very well.
All right, thank you, Liz. Continuing on with Kurt near Akron, Ohio. He says, Acme wins. A post from my sister on Facebook. Not sure what the equipment type was or the to from locations. Her post was around 9 o'clock in the morning, so I'm presuming 2+ hours in aircraft. And then here's the quote from his sister on Facebook. Have been sitting in a plane since 6:20 a.m., waiting for the weather to get to a place where our plane isn't a literal popsicle so we can take off. And the pilot went into the airport and bought us all Dunkin' Donuts. And then hashtag Acme wins. Do any crew members have stories of having been recipients or givers of above and beyond service? Adding to the email I sent this morning, the flight... Oh, so he's giving us an update already in this same email. The flight my sister was on with the pilot getting donuts was Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to Atlanta. It was a Boeing 717-200, Acme Flight 1603. Based on the APG calendar, doesn't look like it was your trip, though. Nope. Love the show. Kurt, near Akron. And I have yet to find the need to go out and buy a bunch of pizzas or... Yeah, thanks, Liz. She says, cheapskate. But I've never been in a situation where I felt like the folks were being held hostage and I needed to get them something to eat. Yeah, just start throwing the vodka bottles, little miniature bottles, and it's fun. It's like dual purpose. It helps them when they drink it, and it's also fun for us to hit them on the head if we can.
Yeah, that's right. Get extra points.
Yeah. Let's see. And then usually my company does a pretty darn good job if the people are still on the airplane and you're at the gate and they deplane, as they did in my situation day before yesterday. They are very good at making sure that they are provided with food and beverages in the gatehouse area. It may be just pretzels or potato chips or whatever. It's nothing fancy. I have seen more than that, but no, I haven't had a chance to make a name for myself in buying 50 pizzas for the. Yeah, what about you, Nick? Have you bought pizza for 300 passengers, or how many passengers do you hold on an A340?
Oh, they get paid enough to do things like that. No, we've always got things off at a reasonably good lick. So rarely have we been hanging around for that long. But I'm a great believer in just go back and talk to your passengers. If you can explain exactly what's going wrong and they realize that you're all in the same situation, you don't need to bribe them usually. They're usually pretty good. And there's always the worry that if your passengers are annoyed anyway and you come on with a bunch of something, someone's going to go, I'm diabetic, I can't eat donuts, What the hell's this for? And you'll find yourself in more trouble than you started, know. So unless the passengers are really revolting, and if they're that revolting, you probably wouldn't want to buy them something in the first place. But if they're, you should be dealing with situations before they get to that stage, hopefully, and explaining and just calming things down. It's much better, I think, to do that than it is to go out and try and, it's a nice thought, but I don't necessarily think that's the best way of dealing with stuff.
I'm curious as to what exactly was going on with this delay. Waiting for the weather to get to a place where our plane isn't a literal popsicle, so we can take off.
I'm guessing they have a lot of snow and ice.
Yeah, de-icing situation or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway. I mean, we've had it where the snowfall was so heavy that the de-icing truck just couldn't keep pace with it. They were spraying gallons and gallons and gallons of de-icing fluid, and it was coming down faster than they could clear it. In which case, you just put your hands in the air and go, "Well, give up. This is ridiculous."
I think now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, Meltdown Town, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Kilo Mike Delta Tango.
Yes.
I think their de-icing equipment is a little bit limited and perhaps maybe even shared among the airlines. I'm not sure about that actual part of it, but it's possible that there were other airplanes that were already ahead of them in line, and that's why they had to wait so long. And as you mentioned, Nick, sometimes the falling wintry precipitation is just so heavy that it's hard to keep on top of the whole situation. So that could have been the situation as well. All right. Let's go to 10. We're gonna loop back to number 9 after Plaintail. So let's go to 10. This is David from the Birmingham that isn't in Alabama. So I guess it would be Birmingham, not Birmingham. Hi, APG crew. We've all seen the horrific news from Ukraine. We can only hope that the situation will be resolved quickly and with all consideration given to the sanctity of human life. Although a very minor issue in the context of the ongoing humanitarian crisis, it does seem that the conflict has caused the airways of Europe to be redrawn, with various measures and countermeasures now in place. Many European airlines are, for example, no longer able to fly through Russian airspace, and pretty much all of Europe is now closed to Russian airlines. What are the practical implications of the various measures for pilots and passengers? Are we going back to the days of fuel stops, or do modern aircraft simply have the endurance to go around these blockages? How much will this hit the airlines that are only now just starting to wake up from the COVID nightmare? On a positive note, I will, touch wood, be flying later this month as a passenger for the first time since the pandemic began. As I started listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show during the pandemic, this will be my first flight since starting to suffer from APG syndrome. Oh no. Can Dr. Steph advise whether I should take extra shots of go around a cylinder before boarding the aircraft? I'm sure that she would say yes.
Yeah, and a couple of boosters.
Yeah, some boosters for sure. Finally, I do think that Liz comes up with some great show titles, but these rarely get picked.
Yeah, they're not that.
That's right. She did. She did pick out the last one, Crap Can, Supersonic Crap Can.
There you go.
Don't worry, Liz. Your pick will always be the name of the show for me. Look at this guy. Buttering her up.
He knows how to get his feedback picked, doesn't he?
Yeah, you got a little something on the nose there, Dave.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see. I won't end by wishing for blue skies and tailwinds. I'll simply wish that the world wakes up from the 2020s and starts again. Bring back 1999 and the millennium bug. That's true. That was a lot easier to deal with, right? Thanks as ever for the great podcast. Best wishes, David from Birmingham, that isn't in Alabama. And so I think, Nick, you'd be best to kind of address his practical implications of the various measures of these restrictions to airspace over there in Eastern Europe.
Absolutely, and you'll be finding that the flight times from places like Hong Kong or Tokyo are going to Europe are going to be considerably longer without the shortcuts that we could take through Russia. And part of that is just the longer route, and the other part is that aircraft are having to route to the south of Russian airspace now. Which puts them closer to the big subtropical jet stream that streams around the 15-degree north line and travels from west to east. So you've got coming home from those, flying west from those destinations, you're going to be facing a stiff headwind for a lot of the flight. And we used to manage it for most of the year from someone like Hong Kong. But occasionally, you'd have to throw into somewhere, halfway home, where you'd take fuel or somewhere around Turkey or places like that, because, that headwind just slows you up so much. Being able to go through China still, I think that will take the edge off it a lot. And of course, you don't want to go anywhere near the conflict area, so people are traveling a lot further south. It's going to cost the airlines more money at a time when they're still trying to recover from the COVID nightmare that they've had to bear. It's not going to be easy for them, but of course, we're all going to have to shoulder a little bit of pain in order to ensure that the restrictions and the punishment that we're endeavoring to put on Russia without actually going to war with them, we have to pay for that somewhere. You can't just magic it up and hope it happens. So we'll be paying in fuel costs and that sort of thing. And it is some pain we'll have to shoulder if we're going to make it all happen.
But nothing like the pain that the poor folks in Ukraine are having to
absolutely not
suffer.
No. I mean, they're losing their country as well as their lives in many cases.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully they'll be able to, hold on to it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we all pray for that.
Yes, we do. We do. All right. Well, kind of keeping with, the Ukraine discussion, just so happens that the old pilot, I don't know if you all knew this or not, but the old pilot entitled this week's episode of Plain Tales, Giants of Ukraine. Let's have a listen.
The old pilot's Plain Tales, the Giants of Ukraine. In the world of Slavic folk tales, there are giants in Ukraine, one of which had 3 heads and bore the name Balachko. Balachko was a fearsome monster, as some of his heads had weapons. One could spit fire and another freezing air. One of the giant's dastardly deeds was to capture the beautiful princess Roxanda, the bride of the local Vivo. The warlord was understandably a bit upset, and he tackled the ogre by dodging his attacks until he ran out of fire and chilly wind, whereupon he slew the monster and rescued his princess, who lived happily ever after. This was hardly the only monster to be dealt a fatal blow by brave Ukrainians, and in these awful times of war in that beautiful country, we can only hope that they prevail again. The Balachko, though, wasn't the only giant to come from Ukraine, but the story of one other starts over 100 years ago with the birth of Oleg Antonov on the 7th of February 1906. He came from a noble family and was brought up in the village of Troitsky near Podolsk in the pre-revolution Moscow region. His background became a problem for him after the defeat of the Russian Empire, which was only a few years away, when millions suffered for their bourgeoisie upbringing. His family survived, although he was later forced to hide his lineage so that he could gain entry to the Leningrad Polytechnic University. Oleg grew up on the edge of the Volga River in the city of Saratov, where there were few opportunities for him to learn about aviation. Nevertheless, the few magazine and newspaper articles he could find piqued his interest, and he collected them in a big scrapbook, which became a sort of reference book for him that the libraries lacked. Antonov wrote later that this collection was a great use to him. With other boys of his age, he established a society of aviation fans, issuing a handwritten magazine. Mad about flying, they became regular visitors at a local military airfield, where they were allowed to rummage about amongst the piles of wrecked aircraft on the airfield outskirts. It was here that he gained much of his early technical knowledge. By the age of 17, he'd become an active member of the Moscow Air Fleet Friends Society, and it was there that he first showed his talent as an aircraft designer. At that time, there was great interest in gliding, and it was seen as a way to encourage young pilots. Oleg designed and built his first aircraft, a glider called the OKA-1, the Dove. A simple machine in which the pilot sat completely exposed to the environment, it was nevertheless awarded a diploma for original design at the second All-Union gliding tests in the Crimea. He was renowned for his excellent memory and his ability to recall the technical details of many of the world's aircraft. The very same year, Oleg published his first papers on the need for gliders and about paper models of simple gliders. A place at the Leningrad Polytechnic Institute followed, studying hydraulic aviation in the shipbuilding department. But in his spare time, Antonov continued to design gliders, the OKA-2, 3, the Standard, and the Standard 2 at the Aviation Public Assistance Organization. Then, having graduated in 1930, Oleg Antonov was given a job as head of design bureau of the glider workshops and as engineer of factory number 47 in Leningrad. A move to Moscow to participate in the establishment of the Central Design Bureau for Gliders followed, where he created gliders OKA-7, 8, 9, and the Gorod Lenia, the City of Lenin, soaring glider. His work was both prolific and skilled, and as World War II approached, he branched out into building large heavyweight towed machines that could carry armed soldiers and even tanks. During the war, Oleg was made the leading designer at the Yakovlev Design Bureau in Leningrad to build the Soviet version of the Nazi Fiesler Fi-156 Storch. A short takeoff and landing aircraft that carried only 2 persons, it was primarily a liaison aircraft that the Soviets called the OKA-38 Stork because of its long, ungainly legs. After Oleg was promoted to Deputy Chief Designer, he made major contributions to the design of the light and maneuverable Yak-3 fighter. By 1946, Antonov had moved to Novosibirsk to work at the head of his own aircraft design bureau. It was here that he designed one of the most successful aircraft, in longevity at least, that he would put his name to, the Antonov AN-2. Oleg once wrote that aviation especially reveals the relationship between engineering perfection and beauty. A long time ago, at the dawn of aeronautics, the aircraft designer Captain F. Ferber used to say, "A beautiful plane flies well, an ugly one flies poorly." In process of work, the planned aircraft becomes a better shaped, graceful, harmonious creation just before our very eyes. Perhaps, for a moment, these poetic thoughts left him as he laboured over his draftsman's board, because the AN-2 was an ungainly-looking aircraft, a large agricultural and utility, all-metal single-engine biplane. To give you an idea of its size, it had seats for 2 crew and up to 14 passengers. It may not have been pretty, but it was certainly useful. It was sturdily built so that it would withstand the rigours of operations in remote areas with rough landing strips. It had powerful pneumatic brakes, like those on big trucks, to stop on short runways, and the airlines could also adjust the tyre and shock absorber pressures. The batteries were easily accessible, and a built-in electric pump could transfer fuel from drums on the ground up into the wings for easy refuelling. It was quite easy to fly and had no declared stalling speed. Indeed, a quote from the pilot's handbook stated, "If the engine quits in instrument conditions or at night, the pilot should pull the control column full aft and keep the wings level. The leading edge slats will snap out at about 64 kilometers per hour, about 40 miles an hour, and when the airplane slows to a forward speed of about 40 kilometers per hour, 25 miles an hour, the airplane will sink at about a parachute rate of descent until it hits the ground. To mention all the uses to which the A2 was put would take quite a while, so I'll speak fast. It served as a supply drop aircraft, including paratroopers. It could easily land behind enemy lines, delivering troops and saboteurs. Converted to an unmanned version, it became a spy plane and bomber, a balloon interceptor to steal United States intelligence assets, a low-level Ekranoplan float plane, an artillery observation aircraft. After the addition of a Mikulin AM-9 turbojet in the rear fuselage, a vertical takeoff aircraft, and a medical transport with room for 6 stretcher patients, 6 walk-in wounded, and attendants. In its civilian roles, it was a firebomber with a version that could actually scoop water in flight, a photo mapping platform, including thermal and infrared imaging. It carried equipment for measuring magnetic fields, radiation, and other instruments for prospecting, turning it into a geophysical survey aircraft for the Polish State Geophysical Survey Agency. It was a crop duster, a passenger plane, an executive transport or VIP transport with work tables and reading lights, a minibar, pantry and toilet. A polar research aircraft with an insulated cabin and heated skis, an airborne television relay station, and a high-altitude atmospheric meteorological research aircraft. There were versions renamed the AN-3 all the way to the AN-6, which were given more powerful engines, including turboprops, and in some cases all composite wings or fuselages. These did high-altitude work, and one even became a flying engine testbed. The AN-2 flew for 22 air forces and many more civilian operators, and demands for the AN-2 is increasing nowadays in Western Europe and the United States, where they are prized by collectors of classic aircraft, making it an increasingly common sight at air shows. For 45 years, it held the record for the longest ever production run, which is now held by the C-130 Hercules. Well over 18,000 Antonov AN-2s have been produced, and even now, some of the plants are still receiving special orders. In 1952, the Antonov Design Bureau moved to what would become its beloved home, the city of Kyiv in Ukraine. Here it saw much popularity through the 50s and 60s with a succession of successful aircraft, including the AN-12, NATO codenamed Cub, a large 4-engine transport that proliferated throughout the East and West. More than 1,200 would be made. That number would be surpassed by the AN-24 Coke, which was a very successful 2-engined regional airliner that only ceased production in 1979. The AN-24 was succeeded by the more modern AN-26. The last aircraft that was developed under the direct guidance of Oleg Antonov was the massive AN-124 Ruslan. It was following his success with the AN-22 Antaeus, called by NATO the Cock, powered by 4 massive turboprop driving 8 contra-rotating propellers, that the Antonov factory was given the go-ahead to build this enormous aircraft. The AN-22 had been big enough. A civilian version could have carried 724 passengers, but the new Ruslan was going to dwarf it. The AN-124, NATO codename Condor, was destined to be a heavy military transport for the Russian Air Force, but a number were operated by various civil airlines, mainly in the role of carrying very large, unusual loads, an example of which was the carriage of an Atlas V launch vehicle to Cape Canaveral and a diesel-electric locomotive from Ontario to Dublin. With a load carrying capacity 17% greater than the C-5 Galaxy, The Ruslan remains the world's heaviest operating cargo aircraft, bar one, which I shall come on to soon. The AN-124 has a maximum takeoff weight of 402 metric tons, 886,258 pounds, which it can carry 2,300 miles, 3,700 kilometers. However, in May 1987, it set a world record flight of 12,520 miles, 20,151 kilometers without refueling. Other world records followed, 30 in total, including the heaviest commercial load ever carried by air, the heaviest aircraft, and largest payload lifted to the greatest height. To facilitate loading, the entire nose section could pivot up, opening up the cavernous interior. Its wings stretched across a span of 240 feet, 73 meters, and its fin reached up nearly 70 feet, over 21 meters into the air. 4 Progress D18T high bypass turbofans hang in pods from its high-set supercritical wings, and it takes a crew of 6 to fly it. 2 pilots, 2 engineers, a navigator, a radio operator, and 2 loadmasters, and the military version can carry up to 880 fully equipped troops. 55 of these monsters were built, but now only around 33 are left, and many of those are in long-term storage. It was in the 1980s that the Russian military became concerned that the US space shuttle could be used for military purposes, and the Russian space program geared up to produce an equivalent spacecraft. The first operational orbiter was launched uncrewed, flew 2 orbits, and landed safely back at the same cosmodrome. However, it never flew again, and the program was cancelled shortly after the breakup of the Soviet Union. Whilst the Buran project was flourishing, there was a need for an aircraft to carry the orbiter on its back, and the Antonov AN-225 was created. A modified AN-124, the Mriya, which translates to the word dream, was built by the company that bore the name Antonov. If one considers the Ruslan a massive aircraft, the Mriya was monstrous. The fuselage of the AN-124 was extended with large plugs fore and aft of the wings, which were themselves enlarged at the root to increase the span. 2 additional D-18Ts were mounted on the wings, and the main landing gear was given an additional 8 wheels, some of which were steerable, to raise the total number to 32. Like its little sister, the AN-225 had a double set of nose gear that could be lowered on the ground to allow the aircraft to kneel for cargo loading. The other significant modification were the addition of twin vertical stabilizers fitted to the ends of the huge tailplane. With the ending of the Buran spacecraft program, the Mriya was put into service with Antonov Airlines as a large load cargo aircraft, and on the 11th of August 2009, the heaviest single cargo item ever sent by air freight was loaded onto the AN-225. At 53 feet 3 inches, 16.23 meters long, and 14 feet 4.27 meters wide, its consignment, a generator for a gas power plant in Armenia, along with its loading frame, weighed in at a record 189 tons, 417,000 pounds. And on the 11th of June 2010, the AN-225 carried the world's longest piece of air cargo, a pair of wind turbine blades 138 feet, 42.1 meters, from China to Denmark. In November 2004, the FAI entered the AN225 into the Guinness Book of Records for its 240 world records. Oleg Antonov had laid all the foundations to build the world's most massive aircraft, but he never lived to see its creation. The list of aircraft that came from his fertile mind was long and impressive. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, his company, the Antonov Bureau, achieved global prominence after the introduction of its extra-large aircraft. Oleg had found a home in Ukraine, and in November 1965 he signed an open letter to the General Committee of the Communist Party protesting their political repression against members of the artistic intelligentsia of Ukraine and discrimination of Ukrainian literature. As long as he lived, he strove to restore the memory of Igor Sikorsky into the history of Ukraine aviation. The aircraft designed under Antonov set many aviation records. He implemented some of the fundamental principles of aircraft construction, like the use of compound materials, and under his guidance a system of automated transport plane design was created. During the 60 years of his work, he wrote around 200 treatises, 4 books, published dozens of articles in scientific magazines, and registered 72 invention patents. Antonov was recognized as a Doctor of Science, Academician of the Academy of Science of the Ukraine, Hero of the Socialist Labour, and elected member of the Supreme Soviet of the USSR. Amongst his numerous awards, Antonov received the State Award of the USSR and the Lenin Award, and in 1999 he was introduced into the International Air and Space Hall of Fame at the San Diego Air and Space Museum. But perhaps his biggest legacy was the Mariah, now tragically destroyed by the Russian military during an attack on the airport that bears his name.
Wow. Talking about steeped in aviation history, the country of Ukraine is amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, some remarkable aviation heroes have come from Ukraine. They've got a fantastic history. And it's so sad to see that a lot of that being destroyed by this appalling invasion they're currently suffering. So, you know, we all wish it would stop, but a lot of the damage has already been done.
Yeah, sadly. All right. Wow.
Great
About
man.
An hour and 10 minutes. Okay.
Some ugly airplanes, though. Despite
well, I don't
his...
know. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I think.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, very good. Actually, the bigger they got, the prettier they looked, I think. They looked more in proportion and super.
Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, wow. Talking about the cargo carrying capacity of that 225 is just amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. And you don't see many 6-engine airplanes flying around nowadays, and that was wacky. And I loved the flight deck. I mean, it was enormous. It was like, you know, like the carriageway in a train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. Okay. Well, thank you again, Captain Nick, for your weekly installment of Plain Tales. Definitely the best part of the show.
Thanks. Love it.
Let's see. Now, we have some audio feedback, which definitely rivals the Plain Tale, of course, from Landon. Landon sent us in a sharing stream of consciousness. Yes, that's the phrase I was looking for. So let's hear what's going on in Landon's head.
Hello, APGs. How's everybody doing? This is Landon formerly from the left coast, now on the south portion of the United States. It's more like I moved back to the United States. I may have said that before. got my southern accent back. I bought boots. I got me a Stetson, a nice black leather Stetson. It's black as beef. Anyways, I got some questions for you. So, first and foremost, I heard Dana on the show. I was happy. It's a good time. All right, Dana, when you start getting some Austin lines, let me know. I should have an airplane lined up, and we'll fly somewhere to get barbecue. There's plenty of barbecue here in Austin now. Goes the same for the rest of the APGs. You guys ever find yourself in Austin? Hit a brother up. So I was listening to the VAS Aviation track for the student that had open throttle, wide throttle. I've actually only flown into Watsonville once when I was living in San Jose with Pilot Rollo. I was riding in the back while he was practicing some instrument approaches in the Watsonville. And this is probably about a couple years ago. And then I never got his name, and I never saw him again until we were actually in Oshkosh. And I looked at him, and he looked at me. I was like, oh, hey, I know you. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know you too. I've flown with you. I don't know what the damn name is. But we became good friends after that. Great guy. He is now a naval officer. And he's going to be riding in the back of either a Growler or an FA-18F. But, yeah, good guy. So, yeah, that was a great job by the controllers, a great job by the student going to 121.5 when he had an emergency. It was great that people are actually up and listening in. You got struck gold when he got a flight instructor there. Two situations that terrify me is losing an engine and having an engine that's wide as hell open. That scares me. That terrifies me. I don't ever want to experience that. But I learned something from that. So it was great to hear that. I hate that it happened to him, but I learned. And I think many of thousands of other pilots who listen to VAS Aviation and APG will learn from what that student had to go through. And I think it was a great example. So great job there by everybody. NorCal controller is also a great controller. I've talked to him many a time, just like I've talked to AG and RH when I was still the police back in Durham. And I used to fly through their airspace somewhere in the middle of North Kakalaki. I ain't gonna say where, but on my way to Concord, where Steph flew out of for a while. I used to fly there and get me some Jack in the Box at 11 o'clock at night, and then fly back into RDU. Yeah, that's when I was young. I was dumb. I used to have a lot of dates, late night dates in the air, going to Concord and Wilmington and Carolina Beach and Myrtle Beach. Let me stop. Anyways, that was back in the day. Anyways, one question I always get as this little old general aviation pilots, people ask me, if I'm flying on, say, Acme or Ajax or something like that, and their pilots both eat the fish and then become incapacitated, could I go up there and could I land that airplane? And I tell people, yes, I could. It's an airplane. They all fly the same, right? I don't necessarily say that. I tell them that there's a series of things that I can do up there to make sure that we all are successful in our landing and we are able to walk away. I can't promise a damn thing about the airplane, but we'll get down and we'll walk away. They fly big airplanes, they kind of fly a little different. Not too different, but a little different, they're airplanes. One of the things that I would do, and you guys can put your 5 cents into it. I'm going to just put my 2 cents into it, just add a couple more. One of the things I would do is, they asked me, flight attendant asked, hey, is there a pilot on board? Yes, I'm a pilot. I would ask and see if there's another pilot who's as qualified as me or better. And then I would say, hey, look, if you fly a Learjet on a regular basis, you can go ahead and sit on the left, and I'll sit on the right, and we'll work this together. But you're more qualified than me, so you're in charge. The other thing would be if there is no other, I'm the only one. Then we'll get through it. I definitely get on the radio. I leave the airplane as is for the time being. Get on the radio, see where the pilots left the radio frequency on last. Try and holler at somebody, whether it's a center controller or, God forbid we're out over the middle of the Atlantic. I'd switch over to 121.5 because I know somebody's farting in the microphone and on the air and screwing around on guard. And say, hey, quit messing around. I got a problem. And, try and get them to relay some messages on HF because I have no idea how to use that thing. Or, see if they can relay some messages on cell call or whatever, ACAR. I don't know. It's above my pay grade. I don't know. Get some help. Try and find somebody on the frequency that is flying the same airplane as me as well. That can walk me through programming the FMC because I am not going to try and touch flight controls if I ain't got to. All the way up until I have to, and that's for landing. And even then, I'm going to have somebody walk me through doing a Cat 3 approach, Cat 3C approach somewhere close by, quickly, fast. So that's what I would do. I'd figure out how to use the PA system, tell everybody to get in their seats, stay in their seats, do not get up. Because it'd be smart for them to do that. It'd be smart for them to listen at least once. One thing I can't stand is after the pilot turns on fasten seatbelt signs, people get up and then go to the bathroom like that's a signal. Oh, seatbelt signs are coming on. I might as well just get up and go to the restroom right now. No, do not do that. They see things that you don't. Sit your butt down and don't get up. There's a good video on Instagram about that I posted. It's one of y'all probably saw. Anyways, start talking, get some information, find the QRH, just in case it's going to take me a while to find somebody to talk to that will help me get the airplane down. I feel like I would be comfortable hand flying the airplane on final approach if I absolutely have to. Depending on the airport, like say if we're going to an airport that does not have an ILS or is a LNAV approach, or if it is a VOR approach or something like that I have to fly. I'm not instrument rated by any means, but I ain't stupid neither. Try and get the autopilot to fly as much of the approaches as I can. And then take action when need be. Definitely let them know that it's an emergency and I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get down onto the ground. Okay? Still a pilot and still know the rules. Okay, that was a long, drawn-out explanation of the things that I would do. Tell me if any of that makes sense. Give me some feedback, some pointers. I also think about whether or not I should be drinking alcohol nowadays before I get on the flight. Because that's always in the back of my mind. Because I get asked that a lot. And especially lately, I guess within the past few years, we've had some incapacitated pilots. Now, it never got down to the point where there was two pilots that were incapacitated at the same time, as far as I know. Or at least in the United States. But there's been one case where one pilot had a heart attack and died. And then there was another case where a pilot got sick and passed out, became incapacitated, did not die, but didn't work out so well for him. And they had to ask for another pilot to come up. One of the situations was the pilot passed away, and luckily there was a C-17 pilot that was traveling to see his family, and he hopped in the seat. I don't know which seat it was. And read off some checklists for the pilot flying. Checklists are your friends. All right, that's all I got. Nice talking to y'all. Another thing, hey, Captain Nick, glad you are out the hospital and you are doing well. I was behind on some of the APG shows, so I'm finding out a little bit late. Sorry, but I'm glad you're doing well, and I hope you're 110%. 100% is not good enough, but 110% is good in my opinion. Yeah, having a little worried there. But yeah, one other last question I got, and this is long and drawn out. With the feel of the airplane in comparison to my fly-by-wire that I fly and Jeff, I guess, used to fly or still flies, the fly-by-wire feel and the flight controls, and then the feel of a hydraulically powered flight-controlled airplane, something other thingy, if you will. How does that compare? Can one of y'all give me a comparison? Because that actually would be good information, just in case we're called up to do the ultimate duty as a passenger who just so happens to be a pilot on a big commercial airliner. All right. Yeah, let me know. All right. Blue side up, the brown side down, Cavu and blue skies and tailwinds and all that other jazz and good stuff. All right, bye.
Never, ever eat anything given to you from Landon. That is my recommendation. If you're an airline pilot, or an edible, or I don't know about the drinking thing. I don't think it's a big deal. I find I fly a heck of a lot better when I've had a lot to drink. No, I'm just kidding. I've never flown with alcohol in my system. So just wanted to be.
Well, it doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be tea or coffee, but I'd keep yourself hydrated if I were you, Landon, and not worry so much about it. All our pilots are trained to land a single pilot. So, if one guy pegs it, then the other guy will put it on the ground. It's really not hard, but it's practiced frequently in the simulator. So,
but Nick, both pilots ate the fish. Both.
Yeah, I know, but one thing I would suggest you change in your thought patterns when it's your turn to become the hero and step up, Landon, is don't touch the FMS. They really are. They take some getting used to, and you can make plenty of mistakes if you're using them regularly as a fully trained pilot. Now, I would get yourself, use the autopilot, yes, but just use it in its 3 modes, up and down, left and right, and faster and slower. Which are quite easy. You just set a number on one of the 3 dials and you'll soon work it out, because if you try and change the height using the heading knob, the airplane will turn instead of descending. So you'll work it out. But don't try and program the FMS. Just use the autopilot. And, all airplanes land at usually 150, 160 knots. So give yourself a little margin of error. Hand fly it down. You'll get the hang of it. So if you can get someone on the blower just to remind you where the flaps are and how to put the gear down, that'll be good. Then let air traffic guide you, and they will do a good job of that, I'm sure. Yeah.
I guess the only thing, if you're not in VMC, visual meteorological conditions, and you just have to get the thing on the ground and fly an instrument landing system approach, having something that is associated with the ILS system in the box would be helpful, because I think the Mad Dog, I know the Mad Dog is the last airplane that I've flown that you could actually manually dial in. In fact, that's what we did. We manually dialed in the frequencies into our nav radio. But I think most modern airplanes now, it has to be entered into the box for the system to intercept a localizer and glide slope and that kind of thing. So that's the only But, I would imagine that if you were in that situation, you'd want to go some place that had really nice weather and you could see the runway. And then, as Nick said, just keep it simple, keep it to the 3 modes of the autopilot and not worry about that stupid box.
Yeah. Now, as regards flying by wire and an aircraft that is just stick and hydraulics, you really won't notice the difference, quite honestly. Yeah, there are some nuances, like in the Airbus, you don't need to trim. So just point the airplane where you want it to go, it'll trim itself, always for 1G flight. If you put bank on, you don't need to pull back on the stick to stop descending. Normally when you put bank on an airplane, it'll start descending because now your lift vector is pointed over at an angle. It's not all going up, so you've got to compensate by pulling back. You don't need to do that on an Airbus unless you go to an excessive angle of bank. But you'll soon get the hang of it, because if you start pulling back, you'll notice you're climbing and you'll go, oh, well, that was wrong. I won't do that. And it takes about 2 minutes to get used to that. So you might want to just do a few gentle maneuvers, fly it around the sky for a bit to get the hang of it before you start your approach, so that you feel comfortable with how fast it rolls and how it responds.
And make sure you have that video rolling of you at the controls, for the ceremony.
You need to get a nice, pretty cabin crew lady up to sit and film you.
Yes.
And commend you on how well you're doing. Yeah.
Liz, I would not recommend that she sit on your lap. Yeah.
Well, if it's an Airbus, she can.
If it's an Airbus, I guess she could.
Stick. Yeah, but not if it's a Boeing, because she's just going to get in the way, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's going to be a hot mess.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly right. And good luck for when you do this. Yes.
We'll, hey, you know what? After you do this, Landon, you'll never run out of beers. It's an endless, bottomless glass of beer forever.
Oh, yeah. All those passengers will just be buying you beers forever.
Liz did mention that you'll have to credit APG in some way and get our branding in there. Okay.
Absolutely. And don't worry about the seatbelts, because it'll take you like 10 minutes to find the switch. And no one's going to obey it anyway. And what do you care? So long as you get down safely, you don't really care if there's someone in the toilet, do you?
Yeah. No.
No,
I don't. Might want to put your own seatbelt on, though. Yeah, the lane might be a little
good
bumpy.
idea. Yeah. And by the way, don't forget you need to work out how to use the brakes. Just remember they're on the ends of the rudders, because you get it on the runway probably, and then you'll go, oh, how do you stop this thing? And put the parking brake on will work, but it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, he's a pilot, so I think pretty much brakes work in most airplanes the same way.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And the nice thing is the landing gear, is a wheel, and the flaps look like a airfoil and such. So, yeah. Well, very good. I love, there are so many things that you mentioned in your audio feedback, Landon. Thank you for taking the time, and I'm glad that you're all situated in Texas and the barbecue. Am I going down to Texas in the fall? Yeah, I'm going to be down that's right. I'm going to be down in the Austin area in the fall for the U.S. Grand Prix. And so
brilliant.
Definitely have to hook up and get some good barbecue. And
excellent. Perhaps you'll have another convert to Formula One.
Yeah. All right. It's not a big step from model steam railroading to Formula One, is it?
No. It's very similar.
Okay. Let's see. Boom operator Chris sent this in. Boom operator. Yeah, where's that sound clip? I think that's in another sound clip that we're holding for Rick. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Captain Jeff and the whole APG crew and community. This guy's very inclusive. Thank you. This feedback might be a little long. However, I thought you would get a kick out of it. My syndrome is in full swing. And driving home from work today, I was listening to APG 228 when you all broadcast from Captain Nick's back garden. When the coffee fund came on, back when you used the song from the Ink Spots, Everyone sang along, and Captain Jeff messed up the lyrics, which he pointed out. From the back seat, I heard my 5-year-old daughter singing, and has it down word for word. I think this is the first case of the syndrome being transmitted to someone else. Wow, it could be. Interesting.
Oh, that's a worry.
Yes, very contagious. Doctor, it is a worry. Dr. Steph, as a doctor, do you have any guidance on the proper dosage for go-around-a-cyllin for a 5-year-old? The 36 daily doses are obviously having no effect on me. I think that you have to be older than 5 to take go-around-a-cyllin.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, they have it in lollipop form now.
They do have a lollipop.
Yeah, you just have to give her lollipops all day long.
Okay. I'm sure she wouldn't mind that.
No,
let's see.
Friendly.
It would be great if you could get her singing the Java Jive, on audio. Send that in to us. On another note, probably much to Captain Nick's delight, this Boeing guy is taking his first flight on an Airbus at the end of March, and on a 330-200 to boot. I do have a little trepidation, but it's all that an island airline flies from Sacramento to Honolulu. I still can't figure out.
Airbus get all the best destinations.
Well, they fly other airplanes too there too.
Oh, really?
Sure.
Why would they want to do that?
I flew the L-1011 there, and Lockheed. There are both Lockheeds that I flew. Yeah, well, okay. Still can't figure out why they got rid of their 757s.
I know.
They've always flown. Okay.
Yeah, they're crappy.
But I do have a question for Dr. Steph. Oh, she's not here. I've heard you mention on quite a few episodes during the Getting to Know Us segment, when you do travel, you get upgraded to either first or business from time to time. How do you do that?
Points.
Extra.
He has millions of points.
Millions and millions
of
points. This is my first time flying as a customer. I've always non-revved on Acme. My dad recently retired from them after 30 years. I was even daring enough to non-rev to Jamaica for our honeymoon 10 years ago. Got to fly on a Mad Dog from Atlanta and loved it. Do I casually mention we're going to Honolulu for our 10-year anniversary when checking in? I'm sure they hear something of that sort every day. Thanks in advance for the info. Yeah, it couldn't hurt to mention it, but let me tell you what, it's near impossible for a 33-and-a-half-year seniority employee to get into the business class or first class, right, Liz? we almost do. On the way back we got it, but not the way over to London. And Honolulu is like the number one primo points upgrade kind of flight that we have, bar none. So
you're going to have to come up with a better story than your 10-year anniversary for a start. So start putting sick child in there, some other drama in your life. Make it a 50-year anniversary, your golden wedding or something. Say that you've just got cancer and you've only got like a year to live, and got to get a lot of weepy, get a whole pile in there and put all those stories in, and then you still won't get it.
And get some of the a ketchup packets from one of the the restaurants in the hotel. I mean, in the airport, and just break the packages open and just squirt it all over you, and make it look like you're bleeding. Yeah, maybe they'll have. Oh wait, no. Then then they won't let you on. Never mind. That's a bad idea. Forget that. Or you could just pay $5,000-$10,000 extra for getting up there in that.
That's the conventional way.
Yeah. Good luck. But I tell you what, we'll ask Steph when she's back with us, hopefully on the next episode. Yeah, we'll have to move this back into the queue, and then we'll ask Dr. Steph. She's the one that has all the experience with this kind of thing. But it's mostly because she flies so much. She has all those points. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, the best trick is actually, don't tell anybody this, but pick a flight that's really quite full in economy, and then be late to check-in. Not so late that you get bumped from the flight, but so late that every seat has been taken. And if there's any overflow, they'll have to put you up a grade. So, make sure you dress well so that they, there's a nice dressed bloke. We we're full in economy now. Everyone's checked into economy. Every seat is taken. We need someone to upgrade. Let's pick him.
That might work on Virgin, but I tell you what, it ain't going to work on Acme because the higher classes get full before the economy does.
Really? How come?
Yeah. Because of all the upgrades.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, bad luck. No chance.
Yeah. Yeah, good luck, Chris. Thanks for the nice feedback, and sorry to hear about the syndrome from your daughter.
Yeah.
Tragic, actually.
Yeah, little girl her age. That's probably the thing to say. My daughter's got the APG syndrome. Can you give me an upgrade?
Oh, yeah. Good point. They might actually say, oh, my God, APG?
Yeah.
Okay.
For you.
We'll move full paying passenger. Yeah, they'd be calling security at that point, and you'd be hauled off away from the airport. So don't mention APG. 12, Anthony. Kilo India Lima Mike, KILM, Wilmington. Really? Jeff and crew. Jeff, we met at the OB 200th episode at Taco Truck Airport. It was great to meet you. I was talking to AG at the time you showed up, and he was surprised and touched to see you. Anyway, I have a bone to pick with you. I said you should have an overnight at RDU, Raleigh-Durham, and I'd buy you a beer and show you the better part of North Carolina. Not that lame place Dr. Steph hangs out in. Now I see you have an overnight in Wilmington, North Carolina. Pass on the chance to hang with a fan just to get some beach time? Kidding, of course. Just wanted to say that I love you guys, what you guys do, and I enjoy listening on my way to teach people to fly airplanes every week. Anthony Norman. Man, he's out there doing the hard work. CFI, teaching people how to fly. You know, God bless you.
I'm sure
That's right.
he gives
Hey.
good pre-flight briefings.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. And Liz makes a very good point. Anthony, if you're listening to this episode, you heard Carolina Jeff earlier looking for some advice. Maybe you could help out. Send us some feedback regarding that. That would be really helpful.
Mm.
Yes, Liz? Yeah. No, let's skip that one and go to 14. This is feedback from Adam. He says, "Hi, ABG crew. It was interesting listening to the feature of the snowplow entering the active runway and your comments regarding monitored frequencies on episode 511. At most or all major UK airports and several regional airports, ground vehicles monitor and communicate with tower on a UHF frequency, a 455 megahertz range. This frequency is also a relay, so tower and ground VHF comms are relayed over the UHF frequency, so ground vehicles can hear all aircraft movements. However, the aircraft monitoring VHF can't hear the ground vehicle's comms, which frees up radio airtime. Also, it saves needing to train ground operators up to be licensed to use the VHF comms. I didn't realize there was a difference between licensing between VHF and UHF comms. I thought it was all in the U.S. It's all the same licensing, but maybe it's different over there. Nick, do you know anything about that?
No.
Okay.
I could look at my radio operator's license, but
Yeah.
I can't be bothered right now.
Okay. Well, I don't want to bother you. Despite being illegal in the UK, the police don't care, though, truly. It also makes listening to the UHF channels more interesting for spotters and enthusiasts, as they can hear more aircraft movements on the same channel. Hope you're all keeping well. It was great to finally meet you all for my first time at APG 500 in Farnborough. I hope that you, Captain Jeff, and Liz enjoyed your time in the UK. We did. And it's great to hear Captain Nick back and recuperated. Well, you know, to each his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like it.
Wishing you all clear skies and tailwinds. Kind regards, Adam. And this is not the Adam up in the control tower at Heathrow. This is a different Adam. Let's see. Which Adam is this?
This is illegal radio listening, Adam.
Yeah, but it's not the Adam Spink. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not Adam Spink.
Adam Catling is who this is.
Yes. Phil Catling's son. Brilliant. Thank you, Adam.
Yes,
Phil
and-
Catling was the fine gentleman, the scientist from the Royal Aircraft Establishment, who organised us the room at FAST Museum. And
Very
Adam
nice.
is his fine, good-looking son, who came along with him because he's also an aviation enthusiast.
Excellent. And Liz thinks that he may have been at the PTUK thing a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. I don't remember.
Not sure I met him if he was.
Yeah,
Not
sure I did
that.
either. Anyway, so now in this case, I'm not sure that, and I forgot exactly what airport this occurred, at which airport the incident occurred with the snowplow. If it was I think it was, for some reason, I'm thinking it was like a Spanish airport or something, but I don't know. Maybe it was a UK airport, but it's still, the thing that I have a problem with is that while the ground vehicles can hear everything on tower and ground VHF frequencies, the pilots in the airplanes still aren't going to be able to hear what's going on with the snowplow operators because that's not going to come over the VHF frequency that we're listening to. And again, I think in this case that the problem was the coordination between the tower and the ground controller. So I guess maybe if they were monitoring both tower and ground control, they may have caught the issue and said and queried about it and asked whether or not are you sure you really want me to go on the air, or are you sure you want to clear that guy for takeoff? We're still on the runway. I could see how that could be definitely a safety mitigation.
I don't think there's going to be room on a busy frequency to let the ground vehicles come on. So much as we'd love to be able to have SA on them as well as all the aircraft, in a lot of busy airports, that's going to be impractical. If it's not a particularly busy airport, I think it's a great idea. But the split frequency is probably a good compromise, perhaps.
Yeah. Liz is saying it was in Lyon, France, where the incident took place. All right. I'm going to skip 15 because I think there's going to be quite a bit of discussion and we're getting close to the end of the show. Let's jump to 17. And Kevin sent this in, and I wrote back to him, or responded to him, saying that this. Well, here, let me read this first. Hello, APG crew. I'm a relatively new listener of your show. Only started listening in the late 400s. Where have you been? Okay, but I've been infected with a serious case of APG syndrome ever since. I'm sitting in the doctor's office waiting room right now, getting my aviation medical renewed, and I happened to stumble across this picture on Facebook. It made me chuckle, and I think about how often you guys have ranted about this. Keep up the great work. Kevin from London, Canada. And of course, we're putting the pic of the meme of the journalist's guide to aircraft identification. So you have a 747 clearly, and it says 737 MAX 800, and then I think it's an Airbus below that one, and it says 737 MAX 800. Basically, almost every one of these says 737 MAX 800, including looks like an F-16 or something.
Yeah,
737.
A MiG 15. There's a whole bunch of fighters there, and I love the light aircraft. That's even better.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, so no wonder they have such a hard time figuring out what picture to put to match it up with their article.
Absolutely, just about every aircraft is a Cessna except the Cessna, which is called a Piper, and it looks like the AN2 that I was just talking about, which is called a DC-3.
Oh, that's crazy. So I did reply to Kevin and tell him that we have seen this before and chuckled about it ourselves, but it was worth mentioning on the show again. So thank you very much, Kevin. Welcome aboard the APG crew, or the community, and great to have you here with us. And who was it that is the the journalist, not aviation journalist, but it was Jonathan in Minneapolis, I think, that said he's a journalist. Yeah, so or you taught journalism, so maybe he can use this this chart for. Yeah, it'll be useful for him. All right, that is going to do it for today's show. Thank you very much for being with us, all of you in the live chat, the live audience. And hey, if you get a chance and you follow us on Twitter and Facebook and notice that we're going to be recording a show, of course, this week it was kind of hit and miss, but usually we are, we are pretty good at nailing down when we're going to be doing the show. And we also put it on the APG calendar, which is on our website. But if you have a chance, if you're available, please join us when we're doing the live recording. I think you'll enjoy hanging out with the cool kids in the live audience and see how the sausage is made. We have a website called airlinepilotguide.com where you can find out about the APG community calendar and APG library and merchandise and more information about the plane tales, information about the community and the crew, and so much more. Check it out, airlinepilotguide.com. We're also on social media, or what I like to call the social meds.
I could do that if you like.
I was hoping that you would.
Okay. We're on Faceplant, that wonderful communication empire.
Wonderful.
And yeah, absolutely. And you just need to go Facebook and type in their search engine, Airline Pilot Guy, all one word. And if you're a twatterer, and you want to go on to Twitter with all the other twats, and you can find us or speak to us, anything to us at APG Crew. Very similar to the grams, the Instas, the Instagrams, APG Crew. All one word again.
Yes, and we also have a quasi-social media kind of thing that was established by and maintained by the young man named Hillel. And let's see if he happens to be here today in Roswell. In the
wow. Has he been hiding out in your house down there?
He has. He's been very quiet. Hey, you want to do Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
Okay, well, come on over here. And sit
He's
down.
selling it soon. He won't matter. Won't mind.
Yeah. Okay. More than we wanted to know. Let's hear what you have to say about Slack. Hello.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and Plain Tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks, Hillel. Be careful putting your pants on.
My zipper, Jeff.
Oh, too late. Sorry. So that's Slack for you right there. And also we want to say thank you.
Jewish, isn't he?
And we want to say a big thank you to Liz, our producer-director in Toronto, for all the hard work that she does, mostly between shows, but also while we're doing the show. Yes, thank you, Liz.
Brilliant job.
And they got excited again. And with that, it's now time for us to say goodbye, and hopefully we'll see you again next week on the next episode, and wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and talons, Douglas.
Bye, everybody.
Cheerio.
Anybody else?
Nope. That's it.
All right.
That was a good one.
Recorder. Stop the recorder.
Yeah, off your
border. Yeah. I got 22 something hours last time.
I know. That's why I thought about it. You were doing a Steph.
I was. Exactly right.
Now, titles.
Yes. Good question. I have no idea.
I have a couple, but I don't think they're really good, but I'll give them to you anyway. Another Crack APG.
Another crack APG. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Feeling like a kid again, because that was from Carolina Jeff. Feeling like a kid again.
Feeling like a kid again. Okay.
And then
Okay.
being the hero. That was thanks to Landon.
Landon. Being the hero.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That's all I got. So anybody in the chat room got anything?
Okay.
I'm
Help
sure
us
much
out, chat
better.
room.
Help
Us out. Sun and Fun next month. Richard Brooks. I don't know. Maybe that's April.
Yeah, Lakeland, Florida.
I don't know. When is that?
Let me find out for you. Well,
Okay.
Richard will probably type it in, but
Oh, you know.
Yeah,
I
Richard,
think
let us
I've-
know when that is in April.
I think I've got a picture of Landon in a vintage aeroplane.
Do you now?
Yes, I do. And it
Oh,
would,
yeah.
I'm just
Could be
thinking
the
it might
hero.
be quite funny to have Landon, the hero, in his vintage aeroplane saying, I can't find the FMS.
Jeff, Sun and Fun is April 5th to 10th at Lakeland, Florida. April 5th to 10th.
April 5 through 10. Let me look at my calendar. Something tells me that I'm going
Are
to
you
be
doing
flying.
training or something? Aren't you doing some training?
I'm going to be doing training in May. I successfully avoided it my early month
Thanks,
and
Richard,
my
yeah.
go-to month. And I'm going to hopefully be able to do it with Brent
Oh, nice.
in May.
Okay, so here's a couple of suggestions from Mike Kuipers. Treetop crop, and that was about them hitting the tree with the air
treetop
scupa.
crop. Okay.
And Micah has cracks and mules. So that was the cracks and mules. Or emotional support mules. You could have emotional support mules.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
There's some good photographic fodder
Mm-hmm.
with
Making
mules
an ass
inside
of
an
themselves.
airplane. making an ass of themselves.
Oh, dear.
Oh, my.
Anything you can work with there, Nick? Anything?
Oh, plenty.
Oh, you're, oh, phew.
Yep, no problem.
Well, it's Miami Rick's birthday on the 5th of April.
Oh.
Interesting. Oh, by the way, somebody just had a recent birthday, didn't they?
Yeah.
Last week?
Somebody apparently did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Happy
old,
birthday,
really old
Liz.
now. Thanks, guys.
Ancient.
Yeah, you see me try to get up from here. It's pretty scary. The old joints are pretty creaky now.
I think I bid for a trip 4th, 5th, and 6th. And what you said it was from the 5th through the
10th.
He's going to be
10th.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Oh, well, maybe depends on what I get
10th?
for next month. Maybe toward the end of the week, possibly. I don't know. We'll see.
Where are you going for your green slip tomorrow?
I'm going to Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, any any
So-
cheeseheads up there?
Yeah, any cheeseheads in the live audience right now? The hardness crack scale. That's funny.
Well, Nick, we'll be thinking of Jilly this week for sure. Hoping everything goes well. And
Yeah, I only hope they don't mess up and swap her leg with something else.
a big
Put,
hairy
like
one.
install the knee upside down or backwards.
Yeah, an octopus
weird.
tentacle or something.
Oh my.
She'll
okay.
be fine, and she's really looking forward to having
Oh, I
this
bet.
thing working
No, no.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in
It'll be
quite a bit of
great.
pain when
She
we were
was.
visiting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
bit of a
right.
recovery,
Well,
but Thanks,
anything else
everybody,
we want to
for
say to
joining
our fine folks in the chat room
Nope,
before we
just thanks for
end the
being here.
broadcast?
Go away.
right.
Leave us alone.
Yeah, get out of here. you
Go and find
people.
something useful to do.